Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. I am your host, Aged Boomer. With me is my co-host,
Did you
Papa
forget my name?
Pacelli.
This guy that's always,
was gonna try
on the screen with me. I forget his name.
That
Just
other
look
guy,
just look at the screen. See this? See it says Troy there.
the Troy father, is with us tonight. Yes.
Oh, the Troy father.
All right. So who was first tonight? Was I even looking?
I didn't see anybody before. Looks like
I-
Melissa Harris.
I'm
And
always
then
late.
Daniel. Daniel. I love when people take notice of the thumbnail and try to speculate what we're going to be talking about. Because sometimes people get all excited and are all ready with the discussion, and then some people completely misunderstand what we're going to be talking about
like
and
Care
get all
Bears?
bent out of shape.
Oh, Melissa Harris says they ruined Superman and turned him into a soy boy.
We'll
Now,
be
Melissa,
getting to that. Absolutely.
Don't be all judgmental. Keep an open mind, please. We're not about judging things before. I'm kidding, of course.
Bull crap, we're not. That's the whole point of why we're here.
Okay.
By the way, happy birthday one more time, Aged Boomer.
Stop it. Yes, happy birthday.
Well, because now it's actually your stream, so I think it's appropriate.
And I went to Culver's tonight, and I'd gotten an email for a free Sunday on us because it was your birthday.
For
2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I'm not doing this. This is sad enough. I'm not getting the free. I got the free Sunday.
Yeah, I remember there was a couple when I was growing up. It was Baskin Robbins, and I can't remember. Baskin Robbins was the one that I remember the most that you definitely go to on your birthday, and I can't remember what the other ones were.
Friendlies?
I don't know Friendlies.
You don't know Friendlies? Oh, that used to be a thing for me around. I don't know if it was for birthdays or if it was something else. It'd be like a special occasion to go to Friendlies. I would always get the Friendly Frank, which was the hot dog, but you could tell like they fried it and they put it in like a piece of toast that was shaped like a hot dog bun. Huh. I loved it, and I got the French fries, and then I would get a kid's sundae, and I would get like the banana split, or I would get like the Reese's peanut butter sundae, which was really neat.
Place to go around here anyway for your birthday was a little ice cream parlor in the mall called Farrell's Ice Cream. And it was very much in the style of, like a turn of the century, old fashioned soda jerk type of,
cool
place. And when it was your birthday, they'd do all the lights and carnival sounds, and like a calliope would play, and everyone would. This was long before you had, the family pubs or whatever, that would do this.
Right.
This was a very unique experience. In fact, we as a Cub Scout group, we went to Farrell's, and it was one person's birthday in particular. And so we said, not only are we here with the Cub Scouts, but one of the Cub Scouts is having a birthday, and we, they bring out the free sundae for him, and they're all singing and whatnot. And of course, that means that all the servers that are also serving other people stop to come to our table and join in, sometimes with a tray of what they have for another table. What one guy had a tray of milkshakes, and he's standing behind, the guy sitting directly across from me, one of the other Cub Scouts, and he got bumped or something, and the whole tray went bada-boing all over the guy in front of me. And everyone's like, oh my God, oh no. And he's sitting there dripping, and he looks around and goes, I hope somebody got a picture of this. Which just made it awesome. It went from oh my God, catastrophe to this is just perfect.
Well, it's good to be
he had a great sense of humor about it. And I mean, we were young at the time, so for a kid to have that kind of reaction had such an impact on me. I've tried to be that way all my life since then. But so as you've just recently celebrated your birthday,
yes,
what you sipping on tonight?
I am having a Snapple watermelon lemonade. It is one of the last things of the glass bottles I have because they're now going away. I will read to you the fact of the day.
What's the fact of the day?
Michelangelo hosted My apologies. Okay, Michelangelo hated painting and wrote a poem about it.
I didn't know he was a poet. I mean, a Ninja Turtle and a poet? That's pretty impressive.
The Renaissance painter. Actually, that was one of the funniest lines in the Lego movie was when I guess the Morgan Freeman character is addressing all the different characters, and he's saying Michelangelo and Michelangelo, like he says in the Italian way, because the artist and the Ninja Turtle were there.
Two different people.
It's funny. I don't know. Anyway, but let's say hi to the chat. We have Auditor Dread. Horizon Talker, hello the chat, hello back to you.
Hello the chat. I love.
Okay, that. Owen Lister, good to see you. Big Al presents. Hey, Big Al, have a great time, you geezers. Yes, I know. I'm feeling it lately. I don't know. Wolf 10 Media. Hey, everyone. You're getting up there and you're wondering, are you out of touch? Horizon Talker, and yes, Michelangelo is considered sculpting the highest form of art. I will tell you, back in high school, I took a painting class. I was terrible. Okay, I couldn't draw worth anything. I took a 3D art class, and I must have been pretty good because I didn't even find this till a while later. But the teacher actually sent home a note about me saying how I got nominated for like an award for like one of the best students in the class.
Wow!
And I was like, well, geez, if I'd known that, maybe I would have gone into 3D art, maybe sculpting or something like that was my. See, sculpting, the 3D stuff was better for me than I couldn't. Something about the way I see things, and well, not everyone's an artist either. You know what I'm saying? Of course, some would argue that poetry, writing a poem, but poem is painting with words. So, anyway,
if you do it right, so many are just so cringy, pedantic about it.
Melissa Harris and Sons. Before TMNT got woke, when did that happen? Was that last cartoon they did that I didn't want to watch? The one with the
and then somebody asked why we're out of April. Touch. There's a reason to be intentionally out of touch these days. Let me tell you.
Oh, thank you, Melissa. Thank you for the well wishes. Happy birthday from me and Jake. One boomer from another. Yes, I know. Like I said, I wake up one day and I realize that it's a weird pop culture landscape out there now. I'm using weird to be generous. I am going to say this though. You had a raffle on your stream the other night, and I found something because I'm putting all of my CDs on my Apple Music right now, right on my new computer, and I had Billy Idol's "The Devil's Playground."
Oh, okay.
It was one of his later albums, like from the early 2000s, and I was like, I bought him. This is my rebellious phase,
Sure,
Billy Idol. Okay, and he had a song about Christmas and about, I guess, like Santa's balls are jingling, and it was nice stuff like that. And anyway, though, but apparently I got a Best Buy card in here because I bought a Best Buy, and you can get an exclusive Billy Idol ringtone.
Wow!
By going to this website and scratching off the PIN number, and you get a Billy Idol ringtone. Now I don't know. Should I raffle this off tonight? I don't know. You think it's still working after 16 years?
I have no idea. Not only that,
does people use ringtones anymore?
I do. I mean,
okay.
I don't use a lot of them, but I do use certain ones so that I know when somebody's calling me. There's a buddy of mine who has always what do you call it? When we go to conventions, he'd always go as Tony Stark. So his ringtone is "I am Iron Man."
Oh, that's funny.
The Iron Maiden bit.
Of course. Well, I remember. Well, I remember when we were watching the Iron Man movie when that first came out, and they had, of course, the Black Sabbath song at the end, right?
Or Black Sabbath. That's what I meant.
Yeah. The Black Sabbath song at the very end of the movie, and of course, that song has to be in the movie, even though I don't know if it has anything to do with the character of Iron Man.
So when it's and he doesn't call often, but when I hear "I am Iron Man," I answer, "Hey Don, how you doing?"
Let me tell you, if Tony Stark did that, that would make his enemies soil their shorts.
Right?
Like, in fact, knowing Tony Stark, he would have that on file.
Right? Exactly.
Because knowing him, but yeah.
Or what he'd do is he would take like Pepper's phone and he'd program it in so that when he called her, oh, for crying out loud, Tony, stop calling me.
This is one of the reasons why I don't have a lot of enthusiasm for the MCU, because I have to admit, I think it was Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man was one of my big favorite parts of that whole universe.
And that's really what made it a lot of fun, right?
Because he was obnoxious, but not too obnoxious where it went too far. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like,
and this is partly why I've been arguing that people want to give Feige all this credit. It hasn't been Feige all this time. It was Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau set up the Marvel universe. He's the one that is responsible for just about everything you liked about it. And Feige just held the reins. And just like D&D from Game of Thrones, after Favreau stepped away, you see the trajectory just going down.
Yeah, I think also the Russo brothers helped inject some life into it in that second half. But then, yeah, for Winter Soldier and all that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
but no, I definitely Favreau got the whole thing rolling, and yeah, he deserves a lot of credit.
And the people, let's face it, it's not the kind of thing that's not replicable. It's not that other people couldn't come in and keep it going, right? I'm just saying that you have to have the mindset that Favreau had, but they don't. They're like, okay, this is working. Now we can do whatever we want with it. And I think people know business doesn't work that way.
Well, it's arrogance, and we're going to see how that plays out for them in the coming years. He did play AC/DC, Shoot to Thrill, and Iron Man 2 and Avengers. Yes, that plays when he meets Captain America. I remember that. Yes, in the Avengers movie. Samuel Proctor, welcome. Joshua V. Horizon Talk, I think you're already here. I think I said hi. Do you already?
Yep.
Hey, okay. Everyone. But should we just get started on, let's talk about the good old days?
We do tend to ramble about the good old days anyway. I mean, we were talking about
soda fountains and
yeah, I mean, it's like if we just go at it naturally, we come up with some things, but we were talking about Star Wars. We were talking about some of our love of it. And what's the first Star Wars computer game you ever played?
Okay, and this, usually when I think of the Star Wars games, I think of the video games, but there was a computer game, which was my first Star Wars computer game. This was for the Atari 800 computer. Some of you kids may not know that back in the day, Atari actually made computers. This was after they were saying, maybe video game consoles are going to be a thing of the past. Let's get into the computer market.
Yeah.
This was sort of the contemporary of the Commodore 64. So you may have heard of the Commodore 64. A lot of the games were available on both, but we had an Atari 800. I got the Return of the Jedi game, and it's based on the final battle of the Millennium Falcon going to take out the Death Star, right? Okay.
Wow.
And you're this little Millennium Falcon at the minute out in the screen. You have to keep shooting up as like TIE fighters and things swoon in and try and knock you down. And you have to keep knocking parts of the Death Star off till you get to the the core. Then you keep hitting the core, and then it blows up.
Right.
And then the next level is it's back together again. You got to do it all over again. Because that's how the games were back then.
I go back. I think I go back before. I think this was before that. There was a DOS-based text game that was going around for a while where you are on the Death Star trying to get off. I think can't remember if you were there to rescue Princess Leia and whatnot. And you had to map out the corridors of the Death Star, and at random you could run into Darth Vader and get into a lightsaber duel with him. And you almost always died. It was much better. You were much smarter to run away. But now that you mention Atari, I think it was Activision put out a couple of Star Wars licensed games. They did an Empire Strikes Back game. It was a side scroller where you'd be flying in the, what do you call it? The snow speeder, right. Fighting AT-ATs and so forth. And, but even before that, there was one that you played with the paddles, the turning paddles. It was the Jedi Arena. And you were fighting. There was two people, one on either side. It was a 2-player game. Well, you could play against the computer too, with the remote moving between you. And when you press the button, you would fire the laser from the remote at your opponent, and your opponent obviously could do the same. And the controller controlled both the direction of the laser blast and how you had your lightsaber up. So you kind of couldn't attack and defend at the same time. You had to be very clever about how you did that. I was actually surprisingly good at that game. But
well, sounds neat. When was that made?
I want to say the 80s. I think it was right around the time of Return of the Jedi.
Probably. I will give Lucas credit. He understood the importance of video games and computer games, that they were going to be a big thing, and that, you should, make games. And they even started, I believe it started out as Lucasfilm games and then eventually became LucasArts. And there were even original properties in this games division. It wasn't all just Star Wars games. They would do original stuff like the Eidolon. Do you remember the Eidolon at all?
I don't think so, no.
No, it was actually like a first person. I almost argue it was sort of a progenitor of the first person shooter, because you were in first person and you were around in these caves and you'd have to fight these monsters every so often that came out at you, right? And it's interesting when you see a lot of the popular game genres today, a lot of these were conceived of in the early days of video games. Yep. The technology just hadn't caught up.
Yep.
Like they were wanting to do fighting games early on. They just couldn't figure out how to do it.
I'm amazed by the behind the scenes, or whatever you want to call it, the technical cheats that they did on things like Doom, where in order to do that perspective 3D, fake 3D really, they would just have things get bigger and bigger on the screen to simulate 3D, and how they had to think through the algorithms to determine for the game's purpose how close something was, what the range was, things like that. It's very different now, because now 3D games really do think in a 3D vector, whereas the 2D really did not.
Horizon Talk is bringing up the X-Wing games.
Yeah, so we were getting to those too. I was a little later coming to the X-Wing games. I didn't get into those, I guess you'd call them flight simulator combat games, until TIE Fighter. TIE Fighter was my first, and then I went back to play X-Wing.
Because TIE Fighter came after.
So it had better, and in fact, it came out, and then there was like an advanced or special edition of it that came out, and it was the special edition that I was playing, so it was better graphics. And then when I went back and got X-Wing, I was like, oh, this isn't as good, but it was still good,
because it was earlier.
Yeah, exactly. But I enjoyed that. I loved being the they kind of thought through, okay, we're going to put you as a TIE fighter pilot, but TIE fighter versus X-Wing, the challenge is the TIE fighter has no shields. It's not as robust a ship. You can only get shot once or twice and you're dead, So they had the progression where you start out in your regular TIE fighter, but then after a while you could play some of the TIE Advance, the TIE Bomber,
cool.
TIE Defender, and so forth. These ships, that we consider EU ships now, very popularly were introduced in TIE Fighter. And what would they do? They'd put you up against, factions of the Empire so that you could fight other TIE fighters, because if you fight X-Wings right off the bat, it's really not a fair fight, But yep, I used to enjoy that, and I used to love using the cheat so that I could be the single TIE fighter that takes down the Renegade Star Destroyer. I just sit right behind it and shoot.
See, I never played those because we never had computers powerful enough for those games. We had. My dad got an IBM PC compatible, and he'd always be like, "I didn't buy this to play games on." No, of course not. Why bother playing games on a computer?
Yeah. Where I was just the opposite. I was, every time I got a new computer, it's, yes, I certainly do intend to use the word processor and everything for school, but
You're buying.
I'm going to make sure that it's got the computer, it's got the computational ability to run modern games.
Yeah. Now, I had a Super Nintendo, and of course, people have already brought this up in the chat. I'm reading in a magazine, and they announced Super Star Wars for the Super Nintendo, because everything, like a lot of the titles on the Super Nintendo, would have Super in the title. You're not just getting the regular game; it's Super. Okay, so they announced Super Star Wars for the Super Nintendo. I'm like, what is this? And it's a side-scrolling action game, and you're playing as Luke Skywalker. You're on Tatooine. You're fighting scorpions. You're fighting the Sarlacc pit monster as your first boss.
Wow.
It comes up out of the ground. They
That's
actually
wild.
they redo a bit. They play a little fast and loose a little bit with the plot to make it so it fits a game better.
Yeah.
Like instead of you going to buy R2D2 and C3PO, you're actually going to you're actually having to storm the Sandcrawler, and you're shooting Jawas left and right. It's fun shooting Jawas.
I would imagine it is. I just can't picture Luke doing it.
You know what? It's a game. Just
maybe the Luke Skywalker of the Power of the Jedi from the 90s, the one with the open shirt and the broad shoulders.
There you go.
Auditor Dread is asking, any love for Shadows of the Empire? I know that Shadows of the Empire was a multimedia thing. The problem is I missed the video games on it, so I didn't get to play those.
I had it because I bought a Nintendo 64.
Oh, did you?
And it was, I know it came out, I think it came out on both PC and Nintendo 64, correct?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I got it on Nintendo 64. Not terribly impressed with that game. At the moment, it was interesting because, of course, at that point, the whole 3D graphics, or the moving around in 3 dimensions, your character was still a relatively new thing.
Yeah.
And they actually had the Star Wars music in the game, the actual John Williams score, instead of it just being like a MIDI version.
Right.
And you start out as this character Dash Rendar, and you're with the rebels on Hoth. And of course, now that they can finally do 3D properly, you can finally do the thing where you get to hook the cable around the AT-AT and 3 dimensions, and
Sure.
But you could do that even on Super Empire Strikes Back on the Super Nintendo, because they had mode 7, but it didn't look as good, obviously, as the 3D version. The Super Nintendo games I really liked was Rogue Squadron for the Super Nintendo. That one was really neat because I think it was inspired by your X-Wing and TIE Fighter games, but the company that made it wanted to differentiate it, so it was more based on surface combat instead of space combat. So you're like on Tatooine shooting down, TIE fighters and whatnot, instead of being in space. And they actually got complaints about that. They said there weren't enough space missions. So later on, they made Star Wars Episode 1 Battle for Naboo, where you're playing as, a couple of Naboo defenders. Okay, they're not really named characters. Okay, you're just they're people that work for the security on Naboo, whatever there is of it. And you're shooting probe droids, and not probe droids, Trade Federation droids. And there was a neat scene when the game starts out. You can tell Factor 5 had a sense of humor because Jar Jar Binks walks out.
Mm-hmm.
And a huge Nintendo 64 symbol falls out of the sky and crushes him, and then you hear him scream, "Bastard!" It sounds like bastard. And Factor 5 had funny. They had when Star Wars Rogue Squadron came out for the GameCube, it starts out and you see a dancing number of stormtroopers, waving flags around, and it turns into the LucasArts symbol, and it's being played to the Cantina music. Like it's a musical number. And then when they did the third one, Rebel Strike, they had all the game characters, because in this game, not only did you play in the ships, you could also roam around as the characters on the surface. So they had Hut Slayer Leia, or Slave Leia as we used to call her, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, on a disco dance floor. And the Star Wars disco song is playing. Remember the Star Wars disco song? And you have and the disco ball was a Death Star.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
1977. That was the era.
And the neat thing about the third one, Rebel Strike, on the Super Nintendo, was you could unlock the old Atari arcade games in it.
Oh, nice.
Like you would go and enter in these codes, and you would get all 3 of them. You got the Return of the Jedi one. Remember the one that was it was that weird one you didn't like, you were telling me about?
Yeah, the angular one, yeah.
Yeah. And then the other 2, the Empire Strikes Back one and the Star Wars one with the vector graphics, and they're in that game. And it's just neat they used to throw those things. This team, they were Factor 5. They were called Factor 5. really experts at their craft.
Nice.
They put a lot of attention to detail. I remember when Rogue Squadron came out for the GameCube, and the reviewers were looking at it and they were saying, you can actually see, like, while you're shooting around, like attacking like this fortress or whatever, you can actually see little stormtroopers scurrying around on like the surface of it. That was like that much detail in that game back then. That was like, I think, in 2001. But no, pity Factor 5 kind of went under. They were working on a Rogue Squadron trilogy game that had all 3 of the games in it for the Nintendo Wii, and they said they had the entire thing finished, and they even had extra modes in it. But sadly, I think that was right around the time of the housing crash.
Oh gosh!
And LucasArts, I think, scaled back, and they didn't want to publish. And I don't know why Nintendo didn't take up the reins and publish it themselves for the Wii, because they used to do that with the LucasArts games. They could have published it themselves.
Yeah.
And they didn't bother. And then, we never got it. And it's funny because they even added extra stuff to it. Like, you could actually use the Wiimote like a lightsaber, and they even had like the duel with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. You could play that.
Oh, man.
They actually showed scenes of it, but we didn't get it. So what can you do?
That's killer, yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. Wolftown was bringing up that Darth Vader turns into a scorpion at the end and the Empire Strikes Back. I don't remember that. I remember that Darth Vader was a hard boss at the end of Empire, though. Okay, he's throwing everything at you. Okay, because of course it's like the end of Empire. When he's
you're
throwing
supposed
things
to
at
lose.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but I don't know. There could have been something there with maybe a robotic scorpion or something. There's all sorts of weird things in those games. Jedi, I never beat Super Return of the Jedi because I couldn't make a jump. There was a jump you had to make. No, there was a jump you had to make on Endor, and unfortunately, Luke didn't have the same force powers that he had in Empire. Because you got force powers in the old game, and you could like levitate or do other things.
Sure.
But you got different ones in Jedi, and I couldn't like levitate to make the higher jump, and I couldn't make this jump. So apparently, I guess you fight the Emperor at the end of Return of the Jedi. Of course, this is nonsense. Of course, this stuff doesn't happen in the movie.
Right.
Probably you fight the Emperor and you beat him, and then like he gets up again and zaps you with the lightning, right? And then then your father has to save you. That's probably how they did it.
Something like that, maybe. Yeah.
But good stuff though. But you never played any of the Dark Forces games for PC, I take it.
No, but they did have a novelization of the storyline behind it that I read. So I basically know the story behind it. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, this is funny. Auto Dread. The Super Star Wars trilogy was Dark Souls for Super Nintendo. You got it. I don't know if you know what Dark Souls is. It's a very punishing game that's very popular these days. But like, you're gonna get your butt handed to you. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to be precise. It's a fantasy game. But Super Star Wars was horrendously difficult. I found a cheat guide in a magazine where I could get unlimited extra lives. I got up to 99 lives, which you needed in that game because there were no continues in that first game. There was no password system. You had to beat it straight through. I had to look up how to beat the Death Star stage at the end where it's like in the fake 3D. You can't shoot the TIE fighters. You have to shoot the torpedoes they're shooting at you. You can't actually shoot them because that will get you killed. And then finally, I guess you get to fight Darth Vader and his ship at the end of it, okay?
Yeah.
And Empire Strikes Back. I remember Empire Strikes Back. You're wandering around on Hoth on your Tauntaun. You'll go into a cave. You'll exit the cave on the surface again, fighting probe droids. Go into another cave, and it goes on forever. Okay, that was what I was doing that Christmas that year. But anyway, good stuff. But TIE Fighter. It'd be cool if they released those in a collection, huh?
Oh yeah, but all that is EU, and so that's considered, forget about that.
Oh, that's right. Disney didn't even bother releasing the other 2 Super Star Wars games because they released the first one on PlayStation, like when Force Awakens came out, and then all of a sudden the other 2 never surfaced, and I'm thinking they just don't care. But anyway, enough about me rambling. Let's see, Auditor 2, Dread, Jedi Outcast, still think holds Saber content. So any other Star Wars games you can think of?
Specifically video games? No, not jumping to my. Well, there was, you mentioned the Wii having that ability to use the Wii controller as a lightsaber. I actually have this little, I don't know what you'd call it, or what company did it. It's this in the shape of and about the size of the remote from Star Wars. It plugs into your TV, and you have a mini lightsaber with a reflective blade on it, and the eye on this thing puts out like what do you call it, the light beam like you have on your remote, but it reads the position of your lightsaber, and on the screen you can have a lightsaber duel with these computer generated representations of Vader and so forth. And there's really
Cool.
neat things you could, I mean, obviously it 1-to-1 follows the blade. When you turn it left, right, you can attack, you can block, and so forth. But if you do a certain rotation with it, you can get this spinning blade attack, which is, or defense, I should say. That's actually really cool. I don't remember who put it out or where it comes from, but I remember really working up a sweat playing that game.
Well, sounds neat.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, I don't know if you've seen this. Have you ever seen the animated short TIE Fighter? It's a fan-made Star Wars animated short in the style of an 80s anime. It's really cool. Owen Lister pointed that out. Have you seen that?
I have, actually.
Okay,
yes.
yeah. Is that any good?
Yeah, it was actually really good. And it did reinvigorate my thoughts and imagination about when I was playing TIE Fighter. I really did have this whole mental, what would you call it, like head canon of a character, even though I don't remember if you name your character in the game, but I had this whole backstory for this character. And I had actually, back in the late 80s, I joined a fan created group that was based on the Empire. You could become an Imperial officer, and I joined as a TIE fighter pilot. And I based my ranks on whatever I was at the time in the game and whatnot. And they were pretty loosey goosey about all that kind of stuff. And it would have been a lot better if they'd have been more like keyed in with like the 501st or something like that. They weren't. But I always imagined when that group kind of fell apart and went defunct, I was like, I was going to transfer my character to the 501st, but then the 501st went through all kinds of crazy political infighting, and I saw the writing on the wall there. I'm like, okay, I'm going to stay away from that. But
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. One of these days we'll have to do a little talk about fan groups. This stuff you see on the internet is not new. Trust me.
It's always been there.
It's always been there. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I figured we'd wrap up with Star Wars again this month because we did. I mean, we broke for Howard the Duck, which was still a George Lucas movie or produced. Yeah. Okay, but I figured May the 4th, right? But yeah, I missed out on those CC games, but the cool thing about video games though is I still have the cartridges and I can still play them. So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe if I ever do a game live stream, I'll do Star Wars or something. I don't know. See how that. They're hard games. Anyway, should we get to the news?
Yeah, I guess if we have to.
If we have to, okay. Actually, we have reason to maybe be a little bit more hopeful than we've been, right? I think you were bringing that up to me earlier, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's start with the big one, okay? AT&T, wow. Warner Media, Discovery, WB. Okay, AT&T dumping Warner Media, merging it with Discovery to take on Netflix and Disney. Okay.
This is not a huge shock to anybody who's paying attention beyond, just their little fanboy, blinders, where they're looking too close at something. If you look back big picture at the business, no big surprise, AT&T kind of got itself in over its head in this area and decided, look, we got to divest the things that aren't making money. Right. So let's get rid of this. AT&T doesn't necessarily want to be in the entertainment business anymore. So get rid of this. We're going to sell off Warner Media to Discovery.
What happened? They get fed up or something with what was going on, or is it just?
Can you blame them?
I don't know. Yeah, I'll read a little from the article. 3 years ago, AT&T bought Time Warner for $85 billion, immediately turning the telecommunications company into one of the biggest media empires in the world.
Yep.
Since then, Warner Media's footprint on the landscape has only gotten bigger and bigger, with HBO Max in particular making huge waves in the streaming war. But AT&T has recently been showing some buyer's remorse over the deal due to the fact that it's reportedly in some deep debt. I think you were mentioning that, right?
Yes, I was.
Last summer, there were rumors going around that AT&T was looking to offload Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, one of the biggest video game publishers in the entire industry, since it had easy access to DC Comics and Harry Potter licenses, to make a little cash. And now a report from Bloomberg says AT&T is already preparing to completely spin off its media business by merging with Discovery to create a new media empire that would be a formidable competitor to Netflix and Disney. This is very interesting because I remember at the time I didn't understand spinning off the games division because I thought the games division was still profitable. Keep in mind they're the ones that make those Mortal Kombat games as well, right. So
here's the thing. You also mentioned Harry Potter in there, which is also very profitable, but you've got to look at it big picture, right? Yes, those little, if you look as a fanboy with blinders at those individual franchises, they may be profitable, but AT&T is looking big picture at Warner Media, and Warner Media is losing money, and they're looking at it going, yeah, I see those little franchises down there making money. That's not enough for us to care about Warner Media overall. They're looking big picture. This is what I try to get people that are commenting, whether it's Star Wars, Marvel, Trek, whatever. These things do not exist in a vacuum. Star Trek does not exist in a vacuum. You need to look at Paramount and CBS all across their company. Okay. Star Trek's just one part of it. Okay. Star Wars, just one part of Disney now. Disney's got a lot going on with it. And AT&T is looking at Warner Brothers as a whole, not at its little individuals,
Now, they're still having a stake in it, though, right?
Depends on how this ends up fleshing out. The announcement that they're going to do a thing doesn't necessarily show us what the final outcome's going to look like.
I mean, are they basically wanting someone else to manage it for them so they don't have to be bothered because they don't know what they're doing, or they can't get control of who's under them, and maybe they can give it to Discovery Plus and then they can take it over because they're more... If
that was the case, then we'd be talking about the licensing, and that's not what they're talking about. They're looking at divesting. They're looking at, we went into debt to acquire this, and we have not recouped our losses. So if they're looking to divest, they're looking to cut their losses. That's what they're doing.
So probably the pandemic didn't help the fact they couldn't get these big tentpole movies out.
That is a huge part of it. But as we've been saying all along, the pandemic just accelerated what we were already seeing in the industry. I mean, it's not like Warner, the Warner properties, the comic properties were ever making money. Right. The comics have been a money loser for the longest time. And everyone has been saying the only reason that they're valuable is for the marketing of them, either as movies or as toys. Well, guess what? The movies have not been making money either. And I'm sorry, all you fans out there of Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Shazam, in the grand scheme of things, they didn't make money either. You can look with your blinders at just that movie and say this movie made money. Yeah. But no, it did not. If the toys didn't sell, and they also lost money on Superman and Batman and Justice League, because again, these companies look at the whole picture, not just the one movie you liked that made money.
Well, because I do remember though when Aquaman came out, they were touting that was a big success because it did well in China, and of course they're always chasing that market, but it did well over here because that was like the one Christmas where there wasn't a Star Wars movie out, right?
Yep. That
so
was
it didn't really
part of it.
Didn't really have any competition,
but since then. Since then, the AH and the Pirate Man thing have really sullied it, have really hurt it, and don't think that it hasn't. The all that happened with Justice League has hurt it as well. And I'm sorry, but the Snyder cut thing, it may have been successful from a certain point of view, to borrow an old Jedi phrase, but in the grand scheme of things, it just muddies the water a lot more.
Yeah.
Because of all the politics going on behind the bottom line. You could look at it this way: AT&T is looking at Warner Brothers and saying, you know what? This is a whole world of freaking mess we don't want to be involved in.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Horizon Dogger. AT&T also doesn't have the expertise to pick the right people to lead Warner Brothers. I think that's a big point as to why there's someone who can manage them. I mean, I don't know. I mean, because I know that it seems like they were fighting with the creative people over at the Warner Brothers. It is the problem
of what I said, this big picture view, right?
Mm-hmm.
AT&T has no interest in micromanaging Warner Brothers, just like Disney does not have an interest in micromanaging Lucasfilm. When you make an acquisition of something you expect to be a cash cow, you expect to buy it and just reap the golden eggs. Okay. And if the people that you acquire aren't doing that, you have yourself a lemon that you need to get rid of.
Yeah. And I think but I guess Discovery Plus, what did they do? I guess they have all the home networks, right? Home and Garden and Discovery Channel, stuff like that. Is that?
I mean, I am
reality TV.
I do not see the connection there, because I'm like, what are you going to have Arthur Curry hosting Deadliest Catch? I mean, I don't see the connection there at all. You know, is Wonder Woman going to do a cooking show? I don't know.
How to make the best what is it, gyros or whatnot, or
yeah, right, because it's got to be Greek, right?
It has to be Greek cooking
know.
with
it's making no sense to me whatsoever, but I'm sure if Discovery is interested, there's got to be something there.
Oh, Auditor Dread says Joker made $1 billion at the box office, didn't make much money for the studio as WB sold their shares. I'm not sure. They were betting on Birds of Prey to be their next meal ticket. Do you think they were sold on Birds of Prey that this was going to be a big hit?
Every time they go into a project, they're certainly hoping it will be. And let's face it, it's that Hollywood mentality. Well, look, Guardians of the Galaxy did really well, and Deadpool did really well. Do that with this movie.
I get it.
Not thinking through, that formula does not necessarily translate to this franchise, and you can't make that franchise something that it's not. And Hollywood keeps fucking trying to do that. Look, go all the way back to make everything Batman. Make Superman Batman that flies. Make Wonder Woman Batman with a lasso.
Yeah, that's because all they know is Batman.
And even Batman they can't get right anymore.
No, I'm gonna say this though. When AT&T bought them, it was back when Game of Thrones was still riding high too.
Yeah.
Before that final season hit, and everybody flipped out, and it's
and this is. I'm telling you, for all of the angst that we go through, and all the YouTubers out there that spend all their time with their black pill message about how everything is horrible and don't support anything and hate everything. Okay. At the same time, there's an upside to this. There is a silver lining. Every failure that happens, anytime you hear, Papa Pacelli talking about the schadenfreude he feels at something going belly up, it's actually a good thing, because it sends a message. It sends a message that, yes, Star Wars, we love it because we're supporting The Mandalorian, and no, we hate this. We don't buy this. We ridicule it online. It becomes a meme. We are telling you very loudly, very clearly what we do and do not like,
Yeah. And to be fair, I've had Warners in my, what is it, the sniper rifle sights for a while. I don't know, because they've gotten on my nerves a lot, even more than Disney in a lot of ways. But Conjuring 3, if it's good, I'll go see it. I like the other two Conjuring movies, and the trailer looked good. Even this new, we'll talk about a little bit, the new Batman animated series they announced. I mean, you can always keep your fingers crossed you're not hopeful. Okay.
Not
anyway,
at all. We'll get into that.
But anyway, next article, though, Warner Media CEO reportedly negotiating departure after being left out of AT&T Discovery deal. I got to read this one.
Yes.
We talked about him months ago. Okay.
Yes,
remember when he was sending
did.
the layoffs and he was saying, oh, the pain, like he was like commiserating, like it was such corporate speak. I wanted to throw up. Okay, remember that when everyone was getting laid off and
talk about Schadenfreude, though. We're gonna get into that here.
Warner CEO Jason Kilar, who was appointed to the role in April 2020, is negotiating his departure from the company following AT&T's announcement that it would be merging Warner Media with Discovery. According to New York Times, Kilar was kept in the dark about the deal until recent days, sources told the New York Times. Kilar has been overseeing all of Warner Media, including Warner Brothers, Turner, and HBO, but it is unclear how he would slot into the new company, given
at all.
that Discovery's president CEO, David Zaslav, is set to head it up. Do we know anything about him?
No.
Okay, we'll find
he's the
out
guy
more.
there, and there's no reason that they're going to dump him for somebody else.
You're going to make this deal. I'm in charge. That's probably what. Yep. Okay, so Kilar joined AT&T just a month before HBO Max launched in May 2020, and he orchestrated a major reorganization in August that gave HBO Max even more of a priority at the company. He previously ran Hulu from 2007 to 2013. So he's reportedly.
Every time you have a situation where there's a sale, there's a merger, there's a whatever, anybody who has any business acumen knows the company that's getting sold, that's being rolled into something else or whatever, they'll tell you, oh, everything's going to be the same. Everything's going to be fine. It never is. People are going to lose their jobs, starting with the people at the top.
Didn't that happen with Nolan Bushnell? Did he sell Atari to, who was it? Milton Bradley, I think.
Something like that.
And one of those toy companies said, look, you're still going to get to run the company. We're just going to be the owners, okay? And then, like, what is it, like 6 months later, he's out of there?
Yep.
It's like he's the man who credited as inventing the video game. Yeah.
And anyone who believes them when they say that is a fool. Yeah. I mean, this is why I love listening to Kamran Pasha, who says, you have to understand the language of Hollywood. What they say and what they mean it's not what you think it means, okay? The words they're using mean one thing to you, and they mean something very differently within their industry, okay? Yeah. When you read that Forbes article, when you read that Variety article, that means something in Hollywood speak, and you're taking it completely wrong.
Yeah. But apparently he sent out a rallying the troops memo to Warner Media. What do you think? I don't
know. and Mikey Sutton over at Geekosity, he got an email, and he mentioned that he heard the rumor that Walter Hamada and Ann Sarnoff are putting out feelers looking for new jobs already.
I heard about that. I mean, it's just a rumor now at the moment, but Walter Hamada, at least from the sound of it, he was at least competent in knowing how to make movies on a small budget that made lots of money, at least with that Joker movie. I don't know if lightning would strike twice with him, but I thought he was a hot commodity because of that.
But that tells you exactly which way the wind is blowing.
What are they sending feelers out to other companies, basically?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well.
They're the ones that see the writing on the wall. Apparently Jason Kilar got blindsided, which makes me wonder, well, how the hell is he in that position in the first place if he can't read these kinds of signs?
I don't know.
But Walter Hamada and Ann Sarnoff know what's going on, and they're already on the move.
He was the one that everyone got furious at for the everything's coming to HBO Max. Remember all the directors and creative types were up in flames, especially because that Dune movie was going to go straight to HBO Max, and it's like, if it doesn't come out to theaters and do well, we're not getting a sequel.
That's a perfect example of somebody who doesn't understand the business.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole idea that we're going to make a decision and everyone's going to like it and get behind it. No, you didn't ask. Now we're telling after the fact that we're not happy. And when you start losing big talent, well, that genius idea of yours isn't really paying off if you lose all your talent.
Yeah. Oh, Horizon says, yeah, Hollywood needs more Hamadas to make big returns on smaller investments. We need fewer 100 million blockbusters. I don't understand how it got up to here. I remember when Titanic came out and they were saying, James Cameron, what did you do? You will bankrupt Paramount. If this movie tanks at the box office, we're in big trouble. Of course, history shows it was a huge hit, right?
When
But
I
I
hear the
remembered at the time,
stories about, you know, movies being made and then spending tons of money on a practical effect that could just as easily have been done, you know, for pennies on the dollar, you know,
oh yeah,
I got this big expensive machine to make bubbles in a bathtub. And it's like, well, can't we just dump the soap in and agitate it with our hands and we're done and get the shot? But they are wasting money because you have these institutionalized,
yeah.
I hesitate to say unions, but unions are basically it, that say you have to spend this money on this group of people with this technical, you know, monster of a machine, when you know the real independent films are going, I don't need any of that crap. I can just do this that's clever and cheap and get it done. You know,
or it's the executive vice president's son-in-law's company that makes the machine or something, you know. It's
all of these franchises are based on properties that looked expensive but were done very cheap. When you see the behind the scenes of how Star Wars was done, how the first Terminator film was done, how Jaws was done, you know, Jaws, where they kept trying and kept trying and kept trying to get this animatronic shark to work and it never did. So the best they could do is a few underwater pass shots, the fin sticking out, and you know the John Williams score basically is what makes the shark in your mind, and suddenly it's a big hit, better than anything they could have ever actually gotten.
Your imagination is creating more of the shark than maybe what they're showing on screen, which makes it, I think, more impactful.
And so you talk about Joker. Joker is a perfect example. Was there any special effects in that movie?
No, it was a modest budgeted movie. I mean, it still looked like, didn't look cheap or anything, but it wasn't like,
from the point of view of a Joker film, it wasn't a Joker film. Okay. It was, you know, Taxi Driver. It was,
was like one of those types of movies, but with the Joker in it.
And they just threw in the Joker. Hell, they didn't even draw on any of the actual Joker lore. Right.
You could argue, some could argue it might have been like an Elseworld story, because if you look at it, what's his origin in that movie, really? I'm not going to spoil it for those who want to watch or not want to watch it. It's hard for me to actually.
The problem is because you're seeing it from his point of view, and he's he's not a reliable narrator.
They even show that in the movie, that he's seeing things that didn't really happen. Like he's building up this romance with a neighbor, and she's like, she doesn't really know him at all. Do you understand?
Exactly.
So you realize he was imagining all that. Do you understand? And it's like, what can you trust in his head? What can't you? Like I said, like it or not like it, it's one of these movies I find hard to be objective on, because there's just been so much controversy around it. Like it may be a few years before I can even look at it objectively, but well made, yes, well made movie, okay. And the Flash so that one did money, but that was really the only one. That's because it costs a little to make. But you could make even a Batman movie on a low budget, maybe even a Superman movie on a low budget, if you just get a creative director.
I have seen some fan films of Batman, that were done on the cheap, and I thought they were better than some of what I'm seeing coming out of Hollywood. There was do yourself a favor, do a YouTube search for a fan film called Grayson. I mean, I guess ostensibly it's actually more like an extended trailer for a film that was never going to be made, but it was very well done. And it was a perfect example of get the shot, you know, use the clothespins to hold the uniform clothes in the back and stuff.
Is it a Batman movie done from Robin's perspective?
Kind of, yeah.
That would be an interesting idea. I'd like to see that more. One of the things I loved about the Dredd movie is that, I don't know if you saw the Judge Dredd movie, the more recent one they made. People were complaining about, like, we don't really get inside Judge Dredd's character that much and all this other. And I was thinking, he wasn't the protagonist in that movie. It was Judge Anderson.
Right.
The woman. She's the protagonist in that movie when you watch it.
Yeah.
He's important. It's still a Judge Dredd movie, but it is kind of like from her in a way. I think it's kind of it's kind of her story in a lot of ways. Okay, I mean, it's both of them because they're partners. But
you get the impression this Grayson is basically after that era where you think Batman is dead or he's gone away or he's missing, and it's in the future, and Dick Grayson is married to Barbara Gordon. They have a daughter together, and it's hard to explain, but they have little cameos of Superman and Wonder Woman and Green Lantern and stuff, but all of it really, really good. I mean, it's pretty impressive. And honestly, I think it's like a 10-minute trailer, and there's like a 15-minute behind the scenes. You know, the behind the scenes is actually longer than the thing itself. And he goes through each scene and how it was done. And he said, yeah, there's this one scene where it takes place. I don't remember if it's in a library or something like that. And you got these shelves and shelves of books. And he goes, yeah, so those books are all books that I took out of the library. And I found out what the limitations on borrowing from libraries was from every single library within 100 miles of myself, to put all those books up, get the shot, and then take all the books back to the library. And I, things like that. And I'm like, if it was Hollywood, they would have had brand new books made up, with text inside of them, and spent, thousands of dollars on it, just to get the exact same shot.
Exactly. Well, hey, what you can do creative things when you're on a budget, right?
Exactly. That's exactly my point.
Yeah. Both Dread and Fury Road were stories with second protagonist as the lead that also didn't disrespect the title character. That's important.
Yep.
Something that other franchises could learn from. Because there's again, Dread. I hate using the term strong female character, but she was a strong female character, also feminine. Never mind. What are we talking about here, though? Someone brought up, remember the last time they made a cheap Superman movie? It was Joshua V. That was Superman 4. Part of the problem with that, though, was it wasn't, if they had at least known, maybe they could have planned, I don't know if you can make a cheap Superman movie, but the problem was they had the whole thing planned out for a higher budget. Canon fell through. Okay. I think it was Canon fell through on the budget. I think Canon basically went under while they were trying to make it. Okay,
guys, it always comes down to story. It always comes down to story, because I have other stories that I could tell about fan films of Superman that are just as good, low budget. You don't always need to see the flying effects and the explosion and the building falling over and all this kind of stuff. Sometimes you could do a story based on something like Grounded, where it's just Superman walking along and people coming to talk to him. And you can have an incredibly dramatic story.
I would love to see that. I remember, I think it was an All-Star Superman. Wasn't there a scene in the comic where he befriends a goth girl? And they didn't have that in the animated movie. Okay, which kind of annoyed me, but I kind of like the fact that he'll be a friend to anybody. That was
there was that great story where this, and I don't know if it's the goth girl you're referring to, but she's
maybe it was somebody else
up on a building getting ready to jump.
That's the one I'm thinking.
And
maybe
Superman
it wasn't a goth
shows
girl.
up and he's just hovering there, and she's like, "Don't stop me." He goes, "I'm not going to stop you. I'm just here to talk." And all he does is he talks to her. He does exactly what Clark Kent could have done, or Lois Lane, or anybody. He could stop her, but he won't, because why? Just like, the God figure you talk about, he's not going to take away your free will. He's like, does no good to stop you, but let's talk. And you find out that she's going through some things and whatnot. And she was trying to get a hold of her psychiatrist, and her psychiatrist didn't answer. And he goes, yeah, I know. Just so you know, he would have answered, but he was in a car wreck that I just cleared up and hasn't been able to get his messages. It's not that he doesn't care, and he ends up saving the girl's life just by talking to her, Didn't take any special superpowers. You didn't really need, and there, I mean, he's flying there, he's hovering there. That's an easy wire work that would have cost nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's this great bit where, you know, everybody down on the ground, they have these spotlights up on her. She says, "Can you make them turn off those lights?" And he just turns his supervision and hits the wire, makes them go out. You know, but again, we're not talking major special effects here. You know, these stories could be told and people would be talking about it for years. These are the kinds of story elements from the first and second Superman movie. You know, you can make all the fun you want about the cellophane S. You leave that kind of crap out, and it's the story that people want to focus on.
Yeah, it's the story. Isn't that what George Lucas made a quote about once?
Yeah.
He said, "You need a good story. It's not all the effects."
Yeah.
Well, don't tell that to some people, right? But
a good director knows how to get the shot regardless. You write the story, he'll figure out how to do it. And that's not how Hollywood is working right now, but that's what a director is supposed to do.
They do everything in post. Because it's everything. Anyway, I'm rambling. Okay. Well, you're anyway though. But do we want to go on to Flash, Supergirl, and Batwoman suffer ratings?
I would say this is a simple one, right? This is not huge news to anybody who's been following this. The Flash, Supergirl, Batwoman have record lows on the CW. They're continuing, I don't know.
471,000 viewers, all-time low for the series for Supergirl. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Flash is not doing so well either, and part of the problem is that this is tying into another story we had here about Superman and Lois.
Yeah, Superman and Lois went on hiatus. While it was on hiatus, they threw in some episodes of Supergirl, which is not doing well. Their hope was to bolster Supergirl, and all it did was pull down Superman. Shocker.
Yeah.
The ratings were terrible for Supergirl. And then when Superman does return, it's at a huge ratings dip.
Yeah.
So you may as well just piss all over your one thing that actually was getting some ratings.
Yeah, that was Yellow Flash had a video up of that. You should check it out if you get a chance. But
yeah,
the article though. But let me see though. I had something.
The article comes from Comic Book News for what that's.
Yeah, I'll read it. Superman Lois finally returns tonight on the CW back to its normal time slot at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which sees the remaining episodes of Supergirl pushed back to the summer. Why did they do this interrupting nonsense? I mean, were they hoping that Superman and Lois would be a hit, and then they could interrupt it, put Supergirl on, and the same audience would go back to Supergirl? And
it's very short-sighted Hollywood, thinking.
But they already canceled Supergirl, so why don't they just get that out of the way, air it, and then they're able to just go straight into Superman and Lois?
Or better yet, couldn't they have either held off on Superman or just had the hiatus and said there's going to be a long hiatus, we got to deal with it because of the coof, whatever.
Yeah, what was due to the coof? Okay, all the episodes of Superman and Lois weren't able to finish filming, so the show went on hiatus in March, and it's been a ratings disaster for the CW. Apparently, people aren't watching The Flash anymore. There was even talk that they might get rid of the lead, or that he might be leaving and they might replace him with a person of color. That was in the last article. And I kept thinking, well, are they talking about Wally West? Because Wally West was the Kid Flash, right? Or are they thinking of somebody else?
I don't know.
Did he leave the show already?
I haven't watched any of that, but my thought is, go ahead. Race swap a character. Go for it, because it worked so well for Batwoman.
Well, back when it happened there too, I didn't feel like it was this. It's steadily over time, it's becoming more of a thing. Like even when you were saying that thing about Lana Lang, maybe you had a point, but I was like, okay, there probably aren't a ton of redheaded actresses out there. They probably just went, but I don't know. We'll be getting to that soon with this whole Jimmy Olsen thing, though. But
yep.
I know I do a superhero franchise on a budget, make everything practical like Power Rangers. People still watch Power Rangers today.
Shocker, right?
But here's the thing. I don't know. But now, do you think Superman and Lois is now in trouble? You think the audience is going to come back for it now?
Don't know. I honestly don't know, because this is a different paradigm now. This is not like it was before the coof, before all the streaming and all the bullshit. This is did they, they were saying how great Superman was. Was it good enough to get people to come back? That's always been the problem. Whenever there's a hiatus on a new show, whenever there's an interruption, look what happened to Firefly. Okay. Look at what happened to so many other shows that were on up against something like 9/11, or things that were up against the Gulf War news footage, or
Gulf War destroyed Dark Shadows reboot when that came out.
Right.
They kept pushing it off, and nobody
watched it. A lot
of
great shows that didn't get their due because of stuff like that. Are people going to come back for Superman? Don't know. But the fact that all the other CW shows are tanking so badly does not help Superman. And this using Supergirl in between definitely doesn't. It actively hurt a very precarious show to begin with.
Yeah. A Horizon talker was saying that it would be Impulse, Iris, and the Flash's grandson. So they were okay. Do you know anything about the Flash history? How Impulse is the
Impulse?
Okay.
Impulse
okay.
is a descendant who comes back in time, and
all right.
I don't know. I don't care.
Okay. It's more timey-wimey than Doctor Who on that show, isn't it?
Yeah.
I gave up on the Flash after the third season. I thought it had a strong first season when it came on, and then it kept doing nasty things to Barry Allen each season, and it's
usually because of his own stupidity.
Sometimes. I think it was even argued on that show that he became the Flash sooner than he was supposed to in the original timeline.
Yeah.
So he was older when he became the Flash before the Reverse Flash messed with things. I was trying to cut it some slack, but then I don't like I'm supposed to be liking these main characters. I don't really like seeing them tortured. Don't even get me started on what they did with Caitlin Snow for like the first 3 seasons. They kept putting her through the ringer. I'm like, and
then there was never the payoff with Lady Ironheart. So
I guess not. No, I didn't watch after that.
Or was it Darkheart?
Well, what I liked about Caitlin Snow is that, we have a young woman, but she's you think she's all standoffish, but no, she actually has a husband. She actually has a normal life outside of her job, and then I thought that was neat because it showed how a young person can be mature, and then they had to rip that away from her and eventually make her into a supervillain. But then it was anyway, I'm going on I'm rambling. Okay.
That's fine. I get it. But, and then the follow-up article that we had from Comic Book News, Superman and Lois, because I think the ratings came out, and the ratings, just like I said, tanked because people were like, Supergirl, no. You just reminded them what they don't like about the CW and what they didn't like about the Superman, where this Superman character came from. That's exactly what you don't want to do. Okay. There's a reason, for example, that there is no marketing for Star Wars that includes Rey and Finn and Rose Tico and, Admiral Gender Studies.
The idea is that you could maybe watch the Superman series without ever having watched Supergirl, and you'd be fine.
Exactly.
Again, I did watch the pilot. I wasn't terribly impressed. I liked the 2 leads, the Superman and Lois. I thought the actors fit the roles, so I'm not picking on it that way. I felt the world was a little too dark for Superman, but again, maybe it gets. I was going to watch more episodes, but then the timer didn't work right. I just didn't care enough because I've been burned by CW shows, even ones I've liked that start out well and then they
That's what I'm saying. Everybody that has said, the Flash started out good, Green Arrow started out good.
Yeah, Arrow had a great first season,
and it's well, 2 points make a line. What did you see happen with Flash? What did you see happen with Green Arrow? And what did you see happen with Supergirl? And hell, Batwoman started out in the tank and just went down from there. So they all, wherever they start, go down from there. So why would anyone believe that Superman and Lois would be any different?
And one thing that got on my nerves too was they kept doing these storylines that took place over all 4 of the shows, which I wouldn't have mind if they were at least standalone and didn't have plot threads from other stuff going on in the other show seasons.
Yeah.
Like if they had just done like a standalone adventure and these other heroes show up and you fall, fine. The
over pushing of that kind of cross-pollination, trying to get you to watch other shows. It didn't work for Marvel back in the 80s and 90s with their comic books. It the whole idea with comic books was you had your kids that would go with their $1-2 and they would buy whatever title they could for the week, right? And maybe it was just Spider-Man. And when I'd read a Spider-Man comic that said, oh, if you want to know why you're coming in medias res, this story started in X-Men number 365 or something, then you'd have to go out and buy that in order to get the whole story. Or you'd get to the end of your thing, okay, this one finishes in Punisher number 736. I don't have that kind of money, Same thing with these TV shows. Well, if your show doesn't stand on its own, don't try to get me to watch it. I don't have the time for another show.
Well, I remember in one of the earlier streams when they were announcing all the new comics lines and how much they were charging for each issue. And you were saying, I don't have that money. And you were like, and obviously no one else did because we were in the middle of a nasty pandemic that ended up laying off a lot of people as a result. And Wolf 1080 says, also, why did they make Iris Barry's stepsister? Like, who thought this was a good idea for his love interest? That's right. And I kept thinking they meet each other when they were teenagers.
I didn't even know they did that. That's weird and gross.
They did do that. I forgot about that because Joe was his stepdad because his father got accused of murdering the wife, and so Joe took Barry in. Then he ended up falling in love with Iris but he was like a kid when he was. That's gross. Weird. That's weird. Okay, moving on. A new Batman animated series.
Again, that just tells me all you need to know about Warner CW TV.
That wasn't a good idea. Like maybe even if Joe had been her uncle or something, right? Yeah, that might have been better.
As you read the next title, I'm going to stop you at a certain point for a specific reason. Go ahead.
Okay. A new Batman animated series from Bruce Timm, Matt Reeves, and J.J. Abrams.
Right there. That pretty much negates anything that came before it.
Okay. I'm going to read from this article.
Coming to HBO Max.
Yes. Yeah. Let's have an open mind. Gotham is getting animated again. HBO Max and Cartoon Network have greenlit a straight-to-series order for Batman Caped Crusader, a new animated series based on the DC property. The show boasts a trio of powerhouse executive producers in Bruce Timm, J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves. We are beyond excited to be working together to bring this character back to tell engrossing new stories in Gotham City. The 3 executive producers said in a joint statement, the series will be thrilling, cinematic, and evocative of Batman's noir roots while diving deeper in the psychology of these iconic characters. We cannot wait to share this new world. Timm is one of the primary minds behind DC's animated series, having co-created and produced the original Batman animated series through its 3-year run beginning in 1992. Timm went on to co-create and produce Superman, the animated series, The New Batman Adventures, and Batman Beyond. The beginning of a decades-spanning career behind various DC. He also did Justice League. I think that was where he really did a lot of his good work because I think he got stuck with this because I don't know if maybe Dini did come back to do some episodes, but he did a lot of he was in charge of Justice League, and that was a really good show. At least the first 2 seasons were excellent, I thought. Okay, but Batman the Animated Series was a masterpiece, shaped perception of the character for an entire generation of fans, said Warner Brothers Animation Cartoon Network Studios Sam Register. It is in that spirit that we are bringing together 3 master storytellers in JJ, Matt, and Bruce, each with their own intuitive understanding and affection for the character, to create a new series that will continue the same groundbreaking legacy. Now, I am going to say this, at least about this. I had heard this rumor going around a few months back, and I didn't want to talk about it till we got more concrete information because people were saying they're going to continue Batman the Animated Series, and I'm like, I don't even want to comment and start grousing on that because I thought doing that is a terrible idea. Do not make a follow-up series of Batman the Animated Series. Now, this is at least a new Batman animated series. I don't think it's going to be connected to the original classic Batman the animated series. I think it's going to be its own thing, which is good. Because if it's bad, it won't. I don't have to worry about it still being connected to the thing I loved. But okay, you said
So,
JJ.
it's really simple, guys. I've said this many times. Okay, you want to predict the future, know the past. Okay, you don't need to be Nostradamus. You don't need a crystal ball. You just look at what's happened in the past, see the patterns, and know what's going to happen in the future. Just like I said a little while ago, 2 points make a line, and from 2 points you can calculate out where that line is going, right? So if you're a fan of Bruce Timm or Matt Reeves and the Batman animated series and the Justice League animated series, just imagine how fans of Star Trek and Star Wars are feeling right now since J.J. Abrams came along. What happened to them is gonna happen to you, and if you don't think that's true, you're a fool. You are insane. You are doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. You bring in J.J. Abrams and expect different results from what happened with Star Trek and Star Wars, you're a fool.
What I'm hoping is that maybe J.J. Abrams will just be like executive producer. I'm collecting a paycheck and I'm not involved in the creative process.
I'm sure everybody has hoped that in Star Trek and Star Wars and every other thing he's put his hands into.
I keep forgetting what he did to Star Trek.
Yep.
We always focus on Star Wars, but no, I think he's responsible for all this Discovery crap in a way because it was his production company.
He comes along and he has a bunch of idiots that think, oh, this is going to be great because they say all the right things to make you think it's going to be awesome. And they all go for the first episode, the first movie, the first whatever. And it's a big success. And look how great J.J. Abrams is. And then J.J. Abrams goes on to the next project before people realize they're holding a bag of shit.
Well, yeah, but that's because maybe other people get involved, and it's not JJ's fault.
But he's the one that brings them. He's the one that opens that door for them. He is the flim-flam man who sells you the snake oil, and you get all excited about it, and you have a placebo effect the first time you take it, and you go around and saying, hey, this snake oil is great that J.J. Abrams... Where's J.J. Abrams? Where'd he go? Oh, I don't feel so good suddenly. What? Now I have cancer too?
Are you thinking that J.J. Abrams is the Randall Flagg of Hollywood?
Yeah, that was a great example.
Stand analogy. He shows up and ruins it, and then he starts a new thing somewhere else.
I'm glad you didn't say Harold Hill, because at least Harold Hill has a redemptive arc. J.J. Abrams is never going to get his foot caught in the door.
Oh man. I hate where Star Trek is. I told you that the science fiction franchises that I love, they were ranked in of the big three. They were ranked in this order. Doctor Who was number 1, Star Trek number 2, and Star Wars. Not to say that I don't disliked any of them. I didn't, but I always put one above the other. And
yep. And J.J. Abrams destroyed 2 out of those 3.
Yeah. And
what is that? What kind of hope does that give you for Batman?
Probably not a lot. Plus, Bruce Timm was responsible for that Killing Joke adaptation movie, which was absolutely dreadful. Did you see that?
I did not, but I heard about it.
Awful.
Honestly, though, from what I heard about it, I'm wondering how much of that can you really hang on Bruce Timm? I think he was under a lot of. I think it's the same. You got to look at Bruce Timm on that the same way you look at Peter Jackson doing the Hobbit movies.
Okay, but they made this big storyline that takes place before the Killing Joke story starts. They did like a separate Batgirl storyline.
I understand that. And that how much of that was the studio telling him, you got to stretch this out to 2 hours. So add in
possibly, but he did this whole thing with the romance between Batman and Batgirl, which at least
never should have been there in the first place.
At least on Batman the Anime Series, while it's alluded to, you don't see it happen. Okay, leave it alone. Okay, that's a little weird, but it's something in the past and they don't talk about it. Fine. I could, it's something in the background that they might have dated. Plus, when on Batman the Animated Series, I said they dated. They probably went on I didn't. like they didn't go there as to how intimate they became. Do you understand? So it was sort of this.
I get it.
I don't want to talk about this anymore. Why'd you bring it up?
I'm
kidding.
I did.
Anyway, but Matt Reeves, I don't know enough about. Here's what I'm going to say about Matt Reeves. I did like his work on the Planet of the Apes reboot movies. He did whatever. I don't know how this Batman movie is going to turn out. And of course, from what I've learned, though, I'm starting to wonder if a lot of the problems I'm seeing are coming more from Pattinson than maybe the director. Okay, but again, I don't know. I don't have high hopes for it, but we'll see. But the thing about, I love the Planet of the Apes reboot movies.
Yeah, I
don't
do
know if
too.
you caught those as well. All three of them were really good.
Yep.
But and that's an example of how to reboot a franchise.
I agree with you 100%.
Because it made it modern, but it didn't disrespect the past either. So it's and plus it did something. It was kind of cool because you got to see them, because of course they couldn't make the apes look like actual apes in the old movies. So they had those cool, like, evolved looking apes with the great makeup jobs. I mean, that was still an iconic, great looking design. But since we have the technology now, we can actually make them look like actual apes.
And I got to be honest,
yeah.
When you also compare it to the Tim Burton monstrosity,
oh man,
which very much drew on the original as far as the makeup and all that kind of stuff.
It did.
Oh, it's not as good as it should have been at that time period, but also kind of crapped all over what came before it. It was the worst of both worlds in a lot of ways.
I am going to say with the Burton movie, if it hadn't even been for that twist ending, I might have cut it some slack.
I agree with you.
I think I just would have said, okay, it's not as good as the old ones, but it's not terrible. Then they did that awful twist ending at the end.
And I have heard so many people come out and do videos about explaining the timeline and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, the Planet of the Apes is not about time travel. It is about a linear story that has a time travel element to it. You don't get complicated with the time travel.
No. And then they got complicated with it in the last 2 minutes of the movie. Yeah. Okay.
And without any explanation that requires you to do, hours and hours of outside research to figure out. Your average audience is going to go, you didn't put it into this movie. It didn't happen. This is stupid. I'm done.
What I thought they could have done was, and I think even having a twist was dumb. I think just have them go off. Okay. In the original, I think that's how the book ended too. The original book, as I got the impression, okay, maybe they're just trying to base it more on the original book, which I haven't read, so I can't tell. But Rod Serling, added his own ideas in the planets, which were great ideas. So I'm not picking on the original movie; it's a classic. But then they did that whole thing of them showing back on Earth, and then the villain from the previous movie is in Abe Lincoln's. And that doesn't make any sense. Now, I could have imagined that possibly the same thing that happened on that planet with the apes evolving also happened back on Earth. Okay, and then he comes back and the apes have taken over Earth. Do you understand? So maybe that might have been the way they could have floated that, but they didn't
everything
even do that,
I've read about it is the intent was that whatever that Tim Roth chimp, whatever his name was, at some point goes back in time to an earlier time in history and somehow starts an ape revolt back in the day.
What, like in Roman times or something? I'm thinking,
or the Civil War or something. I don't know. The Civil War,
because why it was Abe Lincoln? He was an Abe Lincoln's thing. It's like, I don't know.
And
it's
it makes absolutely zero sense because how do you have the genetically altered apes to procreate and so forth? It makes no sense. Whereas these new reboots actually put some thought into.
They put thought into where it all comes from. It's a virus.
They kind of did for Planet of the Apes what Rogue One kind of does for Star Wars. It focused on a couple of plot holes that didn't make a lot of sense and go, let's think that through, and just like spackle over a crack, we'll work that in, and it looks pretty seamless. They did a great job with that, even down to in the background on a TV, the rocket taking off that happens to be the ship. from the original Planet of the Apes.
Wonderful. And that could be your next trilogy. It could be about Taylor and them in the future, because they already put the seeds in the Caesar trilogy. Okay.
Yep.
And you could go with that for your next trilogy, which who knows if that's going to happen, because guess who owns 20th Century Fox? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Okay. JJ Stanford, joke writer, probably. Okay. Anyway, let's move on to the big story. Okay. HBO announces new animated series with race swapped Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
Of course, that's abounding in the comics article. So you got the nice grabber headline there, right? But I'll read a bit from just the general stuff. HBO Max and Warner Brothers Animation announced a brand new Superman animated series titled My Adventures with Superman that features a race swap Jimmy Olsen. In a press release, Warner Media details the series will be an all-new kids and family animated series. It will follow 20-somethings Clark Kent, the bright and driven Lois Lane, and their best friend Jimmy Olsen as they begin to discover who they are and everything they can accomplish together as an investigative reporting team at the Daily Planet. Specifically, the series will follow Clark as he builds his secret Superman identity and embraces his role as the hero of Metropolis and perhaps the world. And as for Lois, she is now growing into a star investigative journalist and takes aspiring photographer Jimmy Olsen under her wing. None of that sounds terrible so far, I'll say this, but let's keep going. While this is happening, Clark and Lois are falling in love, sharing adventures, taking down bad guys, stumbling over secrets, and discovering what it means to be Superman and Lois Lane. Head of Kids and Family Program at Warner Brothers, Amy Friedman, commented on the show, Superman has remained one of the most iconic and beloved superheroes in the world. Yes, he has. This fresh take from Warner Brothers animation team delivers a modern, relatable Clark Kent alongside a fearless, whip-smart Lois Lane, who are navigating the small tasks of both becoming adults and trying to save the world, she added. Hope there's not going to be any angst in this. Sam Register, president of Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios, provided his own statement. It's been a great partnership working with Cartoon Network and HBO Max to bring more DC superheroes to the platform in new and incredibly interesting ways. Like that Aquaman thing you're doing? Sorry, I'm thinking back to that. He added, this is the first animated Superman series in many years, and we want to tell our Superman story through the trio of Clark, Lois, and Jimmy, whose relationship dynamic will allow for rich, serialized, and engaging stories as we explore their lives and individuals, journey together as friends, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The series will be produced by Warner Brothers Animation, with Register serving as executive producer. Jake Wyatt and Brendan Cloher will be co-executive producers, while She-Ra and the Princess of Powers, Josie Campbell, will be a co-producer. Campbell was the head writer for She-Ra and the Princess of Power,
which did so brilliantly.
No,
That's building on success here.
That makes me scared. Okay, so
it tells you everything you need to know. This is Cartoon Network. What more do you need to know?
So I think I'm going to do a share screen. Okay,
do it.
Let's do this. They've shown one screen. Was I going to say stream shot? Screen shot of this. One cell. Yes. Okay, of this show. Okay. And I don't know. I'm kind of curious as to what people's in here's opinions might be of this. Okay, view full screen. There we go. Okay. All right, so here's the image. What do we think? We have Lois Lane in pants. Short haircut. People keep complaining about the Clark Kent in this photo, right? They keep saying he looks like he's a I think someone earlier in the stream, Melissa Harris, might have said a soy boy, right? I don't know. It could just be the bumbling Clark Kent we've always known, right?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I've heard, okay, and Lois looks kind of manic and whatnot. Look, I am willing to accept this is out of context. We don't know what came before. We don't know what the story is here. Honestly, I could see the iconic Clark and Lois in this shot. I could. Okay. Lois has had short hair in the past. She's had every length and every style during every era. So I have no inherent problems with that. It looks like Clark. It looks like Lois.
Okay. And then we have Jimmy Olsen. And if we look at Jimmy Olsen, I'll say this. He does kind of look like Jimmy Olsen. Okay. Except something about
a very severe tan.
There is something wrong with this photo. And I don't know if it's just me. I think I was talking to Troy about this before the stream. Okay. This looks like classic Jimmy Olsen, but they're saying he's been race swapped.
Yep.
I I don't know. And I decided to do a black and white photo of this too. And I'm sorry, I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's me. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
I'd hate to accuse anyone. I hope that what they didn't do was just paint over a character here.
But
I don't know.
My argument would be, and I'm going to say this may sound controversial, but every time you race swap a character, how is that any different than blackface? How?
Oh, looks Middle Eastern. Wolf 10 Media said, "Yeah, my sister was almost saying he looked Indian when I showed it to her." It's like
it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's African American. I don't care if it's Indian American. I don't care if what it is. If you decide not to give him bright white skin, red hair, and freckles, you have race swapped him.
Yeah.
And this is not who the character is. This is why I say it's as bad as blackface. On the one hand, you're saying we're going to give you diversity by just changing the color of a character. All you are is your skin color. That's the only thing that's important about you. That's what makes for representation.
Do you know what I don't understand? You could just introduce new characters into the Superman mythos. They did that on Smallville with Chloe Sullivan.
I was absolutely coming to that.
Okay, sorry.
The other important point is you're also saying that you as a race, you as a people, don't deserve your own characters. The only way we can give you representation is to take something from someone else and give it to you. Consolation prize, here you go.
So representation.
Nothing you made, nothing you earned. We're going to take something that someone else made and give it to you because you're not good enough to do it on your own.
They're treating representation like a zero-sum game.
Yep.
Am I wrong here?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
There's only so many characters, and we can't create new characters. We have to just swap existing characters out. This is like with jobs and whatnot and everything else. It's like everything. I don't know. This go ahead.
And again, this is a bunch of people that don't bother to take the time to look at the lore and say, who are the people that worked at the Daily Planet, right? All they know is Lois Lane. They know Perry White, Clark Kent, and Jimmy Olsen. That's it. If we want a black character, we're going to have to swap one of those characters out for a black person because no one else works at the friggin' Daily Planet.
Yeah. And at least even with acting, I would assume, okay, we're trying to give more chances to people other than that, which, you could use that excuse, but here there's no excuse to that because it's a cartoon character. Oh, Wolf the Media has a comment. When I see them race swap characters for blacks, it's like they're saying we should lighten our skin.
Let me tell you something else. Okay, you want to do a story set in the Daily Planet? You're going to need more than 4 characters, and you know what you might want to consider? A character named Ron Troop. Do you know who Ron Troop is? Probably a lot of people don't.
Who's Ron Troop?
Ron Troop was the political columnist and editor for the Daily Planet. He was an African-American character. Okay. You want to do your social commentaries? The political columnist would be just the guy to do it. You don't need to race swap somebody. Try introducing a character that has been there for decades and nobody talks about.
This is why I do have this theory about them. This is a last minute change. I mean, I could be wrong here.
But again, like I said, we're talking about a bunch of stupid hipster kids that they hired out of art school because they dated somebody. And can I get my boyfriend a job here? Can I get my girlfriend a job here? Oh, sure. Why not? That's diversity, especially if your girlfriend is your lesbian lover. Let's make sure we get her in here and talk about how great it is that we're hiring diverse people. And they have absolutely no idea what Superman is, except maybe one movie they saw once. And all the characters they know are the 3 people that were introduced. So those are the only 3 we have. So we got to race swap one of those people.
Yeah. I sent Troy a video earlier in the week about basically there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes in the world of the American cartoon industry, especially stuff that's being made for Cartoon Network and whatnot. There's some shady characters behind it. I'll just say that. Okay. Basically people's friends and lovers are getting hired for these positions, people they knew at school. Not necessarily the most talented people in the bunch.
Long story short, you want to know what's going to happen with this? Just look at what happened with the She-Ra cartoon, with Thundercats Roar, Teen Titans Go, every other piece of shit that came out of Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
Again, I'm gonna repeat myself. Two points make a line. You want to know what's going to happen in the future? Look at the past.
You know what I kept thinking? I keep thinking. I watched a Japanese animated series called One Punch Man, and it's a Japanese animated superhero series.
Yeah, I know of it. Yeah.
Okay, and he can beat any enemy with one punch. And I'm thinking, you're in competition with this. Okay.
Yeah.
And part of me was even thinking, Warner Brothers, maybe you might want to hand the reins of this Batman animated series over to someone in Japan for a little while and see what they do.
I know, right?
Because actually, it was even some Japanese animated studios that ended up working on a lot of Batman animated series episodes, not writing wise, but they did a lot of the animation for them. Okay. And it's funny, some of that team went on to do their own series later on called Big O. And it's basically about this guy that pilots a giant robot, but it's basically like a Bruce Wayne type character, and he has a butler. And it's almost like this is the Japanese answer to Batman. It's kind of funny, but it has.
And it's probably better than some of what we've been getting from.
Oh, DC. A lot better. It was on Cartoon Network. It was great. They advertised it.
This is
right after Batman.
So this is the problem. When you see something that's good come out of Cartoon Network, what it really is something they've licensed from somebody else. What they do in-house is a bunch of shit. And when you start digging into who's running the show over there, you kind of get why. And you kind of see what's happening. And it's a bunch of dumb kids who think who the hell they are, that want to take their money and spend it all kinds of crap instead of, gee, let me work hard to build a reputation for myself so I can be big in the future. I don't know. I'm just I guess I'm just an old cranky geezer yelling at clouds, but these kids these days.
Sorry, muted myself for a second. I wanted to get the I'm gonna send. I'll give you guys the link if you want to watch this video later on. You can.
Yeah.
It's about a man who supposedly interviewed someone who got blacklisted from the Cartoon Network industry. I didn't want it playing over the thing though. Hold on. It's in the chat. You guys can watch it if you so choose at some point. But it's interesting. It you get to find out. Melissa Harris, you're always complaining about Cartoon Network. You might find out why that is when you watch that video. Okay, and like I said, it was done anonymously because the person didn't want to get in trouble, so you can take it or leave it. But it's very interesting what's said in that interview.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's a no for Superman and my adventure, my best, whatever it's called. Okay, I forgot what it is already.
Yep.
Okay, but
yeah, well, that was another point. I saw the logo for it. My Adventures with Superman. They're directly, in quotes, homaging the Adventures of Superman logo from the George Reeve era. So they're going to piss all over that too. Just saying.
Don't mess with the classics. You notice how when the Superman movie came out, how it was so respectful for everything Superman that came before it. And to be fair, that's always been a trend, even in later series, how you would have like, old Superman actors showing up on Smallville and things like that. There was always a respect for what came before. Okay.
The successful ones always have been. There's the pandering version of that, and there's the tongue-in-cheek version, and those never really work very well. But it's the Richard Donner's verisimilitude that makes it work. When you are respectful of it, it works.
Yeah. Zack Snyder is writing his King Arthur movie set during the Gold Rush.
I would say we should probably put these next two articles kind of together.
Yeah, we'll match them together.
I think So we got okay. Go ahead, read the.
I'm just going to say director Zack Snyder is currently working on a King Arthur movie, now revealed to be set in the Gold Rush era. Snyder has a busy 2021 so far. How would that work?
That I'll get to that one in a second. Okay,
Can we do the other one? Okay.
But let's at least give them the context. At the same time, we have Henry Cavill to star in Lionsgate Highlander reboot.
Yes.
From Chad, someone or other. I have no idea who he is. The only reason I say these two are thematically related is because we're in the post Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, and Warner Media being sold to Discovery, and questions about what's going to be going on with the DC characters going forward. And it's looking like Zack Snyder's going on to another project. Henry Cavill's going on to another project. So I would not expect to see anything Snyderverse related happening anytime in the foreseeable future.
I think it's over. I mean, if they do anything, it's going to be maybe the Aquaman 2 will still happen. I don't even know if that's going to happen.
And let's face it, I think these things don't exist in a vacuum. AT&T divesting Warner Brothers absolutely tells you that the Snyderverse is over, because it was AT&T that pushed to even release it in the first place.
Yeah.
If AT&T is not backing it, it's not happening, because nobody at Warner's wanted it to happen. So say goodbye to, and some people might say that's the good side. That's the upside to all of this, right? Hooray, no more Snyderverse. Don't expect to get something better, though.
No.
We're not necessarily, the devil you know versus the devil you don't, but I think this is the end. This is definitely the end of the Man of Steel Superman. This is definitely the end of that incarnation of the Justice League. I'm telling you, after the I hesitate to even call it box office anymore, of Wonder Woman 1984 or whatever it was. Well, I don't see that happening either.
The Wonder Woman 3?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And as far as Aquaman goes, I'm telling you, AH is going to kill that one with all of her behind the scenes bullshit.
Probably. Oh, yeah, Horizon Talk said he played around the Arthurian legend in modern times. I think Robin Hood is more malleable.
So
I don't know.
So here's what I'm going to say about this idea of King Arthur set during the Gold Rush. Okay, I am a fan of a 12-part miniseries that DC Comics did a while back called Camelot 3000. Does anyone know? Do you know about that storyline?
I've heard of it, but I never read it. Yeah.
So the idea was that, as anyone who knows Arthurian legend, Arthur dies. He sends, was it Gawain to return the Excalibur to the Lady of the Lake?
I thought it was
Percival, somebody.
Percival, yeah. I think it was Percival, yeah.
Yeah, whoever. And he's carried away off to Avalon with the promise that he would return again someday at the time of Britain's greatest need or something like that, right?
I like that legend. I like to think that's true, but we'll see. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, the idea behind Camelot 3000 was that in the year 3000, this actually is the time of Britain's greatest needs. And I actually don't even remember what all the future history, politics, and story were behind it, but Excalibur reappears in the lake, which is now a radioactive pond, that is being dumped into by a nuclear facility. And the reincarnation of Arthur comes into possession of it, and part of receiving Excalibur is gaining the knowledge of who he is and what his purpose is. And so he goes about seeking the reincarnation of all these other Arthurian characters. And one of them was, this is why Gawain was on my mind. I think it was Sir Gawain, who was actually an alien, this big, hulking, alien creature, happens to be this reincarnated night, and I don't remember who all the rest of them were. There is Guinevere comes back, and Lancelot is reincarnated as a woman. This was a comic book that came out in the 80s.
Okay.
And that is, I think, incredibly clever. If you're going to do a gender swap on somebody, there's a reason you do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And when it's Lancelot is a woman now, what are you going to do? Try to convert Guinevere? I mean, that's going to be a real hard stretch. But
that's
I don't
funny.
Know.
Yeah, well,
it makes for an interesting.
He might be able to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, you know,
she at this point, I don't know.
I'm sure there's an adult parody that works in really.
Let's not go there. I'm having all sorts of twisted.
But it was a great concept, and again, it takes place in the year 3000. You know, with sci-fi elements, sci-fi fantasy. It was a really good story. So I could see a similar concept to a reincarnated King Arthur returning, but if it's during the gold rush era, that has to be in the United States. That's kind of weird.
I don't know how that works, because how does Excalibur work as far as that goes? We'll see. I'm not saying this is going to be bad. I'm just saying I'm not wrapping my head around it.
I'm probably projecting to a better story on it than what's actually going to come of it. It's probably going to be a stupid Western story, and Arthur is instead Excalibur is going to be some sort of a Colt 45 or something like that,
or maybe a machine gun that the cavalry just invented.
I don't know.
Here's what I don't understand, because I think certain stories from other cultures translate in the Westerns, like the Japanese samurai picture, that sometimes those would get turned into Westerns without permission. Sometimes, so that was a famous thing about Fistful of Dollars. They said it was Yojimbo, and it was
just it. The Dirty Dozen and stuff like that.
Magnificent Seven,
Magnificent
Samurai,
and the Seven Samurai.
Yeah, right? Stuff like that. Yeah.
So if they did something like that, and they weren't so on the nose with it and call it, King Arthur, the Gold Rush or something, then maybe.
If you're not on the nose with it, you're just being inspired by that. It's kind of like how Ponyo, which was an anime movie I love, but it's basically based on The Little Mermaid, but it takes place in modern times, and it plays fast and loose with the story, but you could tell it's not that on, you know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I get it.
Yeah.
So either way, I don't know where they're actually going with it. I'm just pointing out at least one or two ways this could work, but it doesn't matter. That's not really the point of why we're sharing it. We're sharing it saying Zack Snyder is moving on. Now, Henry Cavill.
Hold on. Someone had a good quote here. I want to bring it up. Hold on. Go ahead.
Henry Cavill going to Lionsgate to do Highlander. I have some serious problems with.
You don't like him as the Highlander.
I'm not saying I have no strong feelings about Henry Cavill at all. Unlike some, yes, he has said some stupid things about playing Superman, but ultimately I will continue to say that any problems I had with Man of Steel, Justice League, all of that, none of it had to do with the casting. Right. It all had to do with the writing and the story and the implementation. It is not Cavill's fault. Okay. And just like this, I do not intrinsically have a problem with casting Henry Cavill as Connor McLeod. I'm assuming that's the intent here. My problem is remaking it in the first place.
Because
it is not something that should be remade. Okay. Right. I just recently rewatched Heather's death scene. Okay. And her making him promise that in the years to come, will you light a candle for me on my birthday? I'm sorry. I am fighting back, getting misty just thinking about it. I don't think there are good enough writers these days that could pull off something like that. You don't want to remake it word for word, letter for letter, but if you're going to try to do it the same but different, why bother? It already exists.
Well, to be fair, we don't know if is it a reboot or is it something just in the Highlander series? They say it was a reboot. Actually,
They're calling it a reboot.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know what that means.
Oh, I think Cavill can do Highlander. I hope Christopher Lambert would be his mentor. Oh, Lambert is Ramirez.
That would be good. That actually would be good.
I had another thought though. Not that, and like I said, you're probably right. I don't know. Most of the time when these remakes are made, they're not nearly as good as the original. But if I were casting Cavill, though, we're thinking he should play the Highlander. What if he played the villain, like the Kurgan or some other villain? Cavill is actually very good at playing villains.
Yeah.
He was very good as the villain in that last Mission Impossible. He's terrifyingly intimidating as a bad guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Tom Cruise is fighting him and stuff. It's
yeah, I think either way, but the term reboot, again, we were talking about language and what they mean when they say it and what you interpret it as could be two very different things. Reboot has come to be a very wide catch-all. Yeah. Everywhere from a complete remake to a sequel that takes place a long time later that continues the story, to an alternate version. It's kind of a remake, but so I mean, you can have the RoboCop remake. They called that a reboot. The all-female Ghostbuster, which wasn't a remake, but kind of was, and it takes place in an alternate timeline. That was considered to be a reboot. They've even called the sequel trilogy of Star Wars a reboot of Star Wars. It is truly a sequel, but they're calling it a reboot. All of these things are reboots from Hollywood's point of view. Anything that takes a franchise and makes us more money from it by making another movie is a reboot as far as they are concerned. So it tells us nothing about what they actually mean. But the most logical meaning in this context is a remake of the original Highlander.
Yeah.
I will just do a rewatch of it on my channel, of the original on my channel, and say, screw it.
Well, no, you've already did the rewatch of the Highlander when you did the Saturday night rewatches. So you need to do a rewatch of Highlander 2.
That won't be happening. I'll do 3 or what was the one? The Gathering? Was that the one where they brought in Duncan MacLeod? That was a good one too.
Yeah, that one wasn't bad. I remember that one. Wolfton mentioned the guy who played the Mountain on Game of Thrones as the villain. Yeah, he'd be good.
Oh, right.
Terrifying.
Right. He would make a good
he's like a real life giant. Okay. He's like Andre the Giant, except more buff. It's ridiculous. It's okay. But,
actually, you know who also would be really good was his brother, the one that played the Hound. I could see him playing the Kurgan.
He's good too.
You know, maybe not as big, but he's definitely got the acting chops and the charisma for it too.
Oh, and Leia Plus, she had a comment in the previous thing, but I didn't want to let it slip by. I find it insulting with all this race swapping. It does nothing but second hand downs for blacks. I feel bad about it too, Leia.
That was kind of my point.
Yeah, that was basically what Troy was getting to too.
And that's exactly right. And it's these self-righteous woke white people who think that they're, doing such great things for black people by race swapping. And really what they're doing is condescending and pandering and showing how racist they are.
Right.
That's really all it is.
So we'll see. But basically they're moving on. So I think maybe Snyderverse is coming to an end.
Yeah.
And maybe Warner Brothers could take a break from the superhero movies for a while and figure out what kind of movies they actually want to make. Because if you don't want to do superhero movies, I don't have a problem with that. Okay. Mm-hmm. They're not for everyone. And if Warner Brothers, you'd rather be doing like disaster movies or Westerns or whatever, just do those. But if you want to do a superhero movie, it has to be good. Okay.
If you want to do any movie, it has to be good. That's what it really comes down to. Everyone keeps saying this over and over and over again. You can like what you like, but what the cream rises to the top, right? The good movies are good movies, and they're the ones that endure, and they're the ones that people want to see.
One more thing, Owen, let's just bring it up. We forgot about the Queen soundtrack. Would they even have the Queen soundtrack in the reboot? You need the Queen soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same problem that you had with the soundtrack for Man of Steel without
The iconic. Yeah, it wasn't the same.
It's not. And I mean, it was hard enough watching the Force Awakens without the 20th Century Fox fanfare, you know?
Yeah.
But at least it still had the John Williams sound. I mean, those soundtracks are still good. I mean, you know,
Oh yeah.
They're about the only good thing that came out of those trilogies. But
Yeah.
But no, yeah, the music is just as important, just as iconic. I mean, that would be like if they were to remake, I don't know, Back to the Future, and you didn't have Huey Lewis. Got to get me back in time. You know, Ghostbusters without the Ghostbusters theme.
Please don't bring it Back to the Future, because I'm terrified that's what they're going to hit next. I'm waiting for that to happen.
I
know it's on the chopping block of something they're going to try to ruin.
I don't get that upset when I hear about a reboot. I just sit back, crack open a beer, grab some popcorn, and go, okay, let's see how much money you're going to lose. Honestly, I mean, anybody with any business acumen knows it has never worked for anyone in the past. For every one example, like I don't know, Battlestar Galactica, okay,
yeah. Or Planet of the Apes,
or Planet
the newer Planet of the Apes, the second remake, not the first one.
Anyway. But that's just it. It wasn't a remake.
It wasn't.
That's what I'm talking about. Reboot. It did not in any way remake the original. It was a seamless addition.
The most you could say that it was a remake of Conquest. But it was really just doing Conquest in a modern, if it was happening now, as opposed to if it was happening like in.
And they did it very well, in my opinion. I think it totally works. And
like that was touching on 70s politics.
And honestly, I think they're setting themselves up to tell the whole Planet of the Apes story in one linear story.
That's what I thought they were doing.
You need the time travel element.
That's what they were doing, yeah, which I thought was cool. But then, like I said, I don't know if we're going to be getting those, or if Disney's going to do them. Maybe Disney will think, hey, maybe apes are the new Iron Man. I don't know.
But this is all I'm saying is that you know, they're going to keep remaking and they're going to keep losing money, and we just got to let them do it because they will eventually learn. Yeah. I mean, look at. What did they Footloose, and I don't know, name any other movie they've tried to remake.
Ghostbusters. We'll
get
to that.
Last Night. They remade frickin' About Last Night.
Yeah, I know.
You know, these just stop. These remakes do not make you any money. They lose you money.
Okay. You want to get to the next one real quick? Disney stock drops and AT&T merges with Warner Brothers. As AT&T merges with Warner Brothers.
Yeah, going back to our original story.
So it's saying Hollywood shook today, and they were saying Disney, the media giant share price sank 2.6% after it missed revenue and streaming subscriber estimates. Disney earned 79% per share, well above 27 cents share explicitly by Wall Street. Okay.
I think this is the third time I'm saying this in this stream, but these things don't happen in a vacuum. All the problems Disney has had and the missteps and the loss of market share. And then you have what's happening with Warner, potentially happening with Warner and Discovery. New player on the block. That's changing things. Disney is losing its leadership role. Now that could be turning around. This Variety article that I talked about on Friday, and that a lot of people have been talking about for the past week, which is basically the Forbes article 2.0, is basically saying Disney has gotten the message and they are getting rid of the people they need to get rid of so that they can start focusing on making money and quit effing around. But from the business world, you have too much history of effing up for us to buy that until we actually see it. And when we see other people, you know, moving and shaking the market, we're going to be paying attention to that.
Yeah.
You know,
should we do the Jim Henson story real quick? Sorry, not the Jim Henson. Jim Henson Company. It's no longer
which
Jim
is
Henson.
owned by Disney.
Yes, and
this is one of those properties acquired by Disney that Disney has effed up and, you know, not been not received a return on their investment from. They created their Muppets TV show where they tried to make it into a modern day soap opera-ish.
yeah, with Kermit and the other pig,
And it was
all this
just
other
disgusting,
stuff,
and nobody liked it.
everyone was very offended by it. I think
everyone. It was another example. Get woke, go broke, and they have done nothing with the Muppets since then. And now they're saying
should I read?
Go ahead.
Let me read. As the zeitgeist of 2021 continues, big companies continue to pander to certain elements of society, particularly to anyone who is not a white male. Everything seems to echo this sentiment from Kevin Feige's statement last week about why Doctor Strange didn't show up in WandaVision to accusations of whitewashing in Star Wars The Bad Batch. I'm sure what that's about. But to add to this continuing bandwagoning, the Jim Henson's company posted an audition call to Twitter this week. Top talent and new creative voices from diverse communities and backgrounds to train as puppeteers in the Jim Henson technique. Described by the company as an inclusive workshop, the program's criteria states the Los Angeles company is currently looking to train members of the LGBTQ plus community, people of color, and women of all cultural backgrounds. Okay.
Yep. So what it comes down to is, again, we're going to get a bunch of diversity hires, regardless of their abilities. And even if they are the best person for the job, even if they turn out to be superstars, they're not going to ever be able to be taken seriously for their achievements, because people will always look at them and say, congratulations, you got where you are because of the color of your skin, or your gender, or who you choose to have sex with. Congratulations.
But you were saying this was illegal, though, right?
It is. And I'm telling you that there is this, when things get tested in the courts, it takes time. You're going to see years of this, frankly, racist, illegal treatment. I mean, has anyone ever heard of the equal rights or the equal employment opportunity law of 72? Okay. You cannot discriminate based on race or color. You cannot do it legally. You will be sued. Okay. Every white male that goes looking for a job and gets turned away has a lawsuit against Disney right now. And the Jim Henson Company in particular. Well, you can watch for this to become a class action suit, and they're going to get hit hard, and they're going to lose a lot of money because of this. And that's going to send a signal to the business world. You can't do this. It happens over and over. It just happened to the Biden administration. There was a lawsuit out of, was it Texas, I think, where the Biden administration wanted to give kickbacks to the farmers who lost a lot of money last year. But in the first 120 days, white people need not apply. It's only going to be minority farmers, which means, because we're talking about a finite amount of money, by the time that 120 days passes, there's no money left. So you have just effectively said white people need not apply. Well, guess what? It went right up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court 9-0 said you cannot do that. You can't do it
on anyone based on anything. And I'm not saying that this stuff doesn't happen the reverse either. We don't want that happening either. I'm just saying they're not even trying to hide what they're doing right now, though. I don't know. We're going to see how this all plays out.
But this is the kind of thing that Disney just keeps doing, that is going to continue to hurt them in the stock market until people realize, hey, this is not a money-winning, business-winning formula. You know, people want diversity, but they want it to mean something. They don't want it to be pandering, because that's actually the opposite of what you want. It is actually racist.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, that's by the classic definition of the word. I know people tend to want to change the definition of what that word means.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Using the same word, but we're operating with a different dictionary.
Yeah, exactly. But moving right along, we have a Cinderella story, but this isn't related to Disney.
Yeah, I know. We can equivocate. This is
You want to skip
Sony,
this
but
one,
I'm telling you, when at this point we're starting to get to the point where when we talk Sony, there's a shadow of Disney over it, especially since we are talking about Cinderella, right?
Okay. Yeah. So I'll read from this article. Okay. Broadway actor Billy Porter will play a genderless fairy godmother called Fab G, the fairy godparent, in the upcoming live action remake of Cinderella from Amazon Studios. That was an interesting sentence to read. Okay.
Yeah.
This new take on Cinderella is the brainchild of James Corden and will also star Elsa herself, Idina Menzel, as the wicked stepmother. James Corden. It's not the guy of the talk show, is it?
Yep.
Oh,
for you, Doctor Who fans, that's Stormageddon's dad.
Yes. Okay. I actually did get a kick out of the episode where he was. I think James Corden was wanting to say, tell his roommate I love you or I love you,
yeah.
And he opens up the door and he thinks it's the roommate and it's the doctor.
Yeah,
he says I love you, and oh really? And
okay.
It was like I was like, yes, that actually. I had some problems with the Matt Smith era, but I did like that scene. Okay. Porter gave Twitter, back to this article. Okay. Porter gave Twitter a sneak peek at Fab G earlier this week. Porter spoke about his role in the movie to Hello Giggles. I don't know what Hello Giggles is either. Okay. My tagline is magic has no gender, he explains now. It's not about gender. It's about magic, and magic is about love. That is really what Cinderella is about, and I hope that everyone will take that message away when they see the movie and incorporate it into their lives and how they move through their lives. Porter also said that he expected backlash, and the outlet made comparisons to the all-female Ghostbusters 2016 reboot. Well, indeed, some conservative outlets are already questioning the decision. This is definitely not your father's or parents' Cinderella.
I again will say this is the same kind of pandering mentality. If you are going to make a statement like that, which sounds good, magic isn't about gender. Okay, then why isn't your godparent androgynous? Why don't you make the character so you can't tell if it's male or female? Okay, you could be just as woke doing something like that. No, you made someone who is obviously effeminate male. Okay. And by changing it to Fab G, you're dropping the term fairy, which now makes the term fairy, conspicuous by its absence. Okay. You've made the fairy godmother a fairy, is all I'm saying. This is, again, this very ham-fisted, supposedly woke, supposedly supportive allies who are actually just the istophobes that they think that everyone else is. That are actually more offensive than, if they just left it alone. But, this is what these stupid Hollywood elitists are like.
I have my own take on this, though. Okay. Do you remember the movie The Interview from years ago about, Seth Rogen and the other guy?
Was this the one where they went to North Korea to interview?
And then I guess North Korea or somebody hacked the Sony and let all the dirt out. And they didn't release it in theaters because they went to Netflix. But then I guess it became a big Netflix hit because everybody wanted to see it. And I think ever since then, and this is Sony. I know they say Amazon, but Amazon purchased this from Sony. It's a Columbia Pictures movie. Someone over at Sony, I think, got this idea that the great way to advertise your movie is to cause nasty controversy and make people upset. And I think that's what they did with Ghostbusters 2016.
They're going with a Streisand effect marketing plan here.
I suppose so. It's I didn't really work for Ghostbusters 2016 though. Now did it? It still bombed. But I think they were expecting it to be like The Interview. It gets all this controversy around it. And people want to go see it to check it out.
Big difference was The Interview was based on nothing. It was a completely original piece, whereas Ghostbusters had the built-in, you've just offended the fans you were trying to bring in. If you don't get the fans, you don't get anybody. And I'm telling you, this could go either way. This could be, oh, ha, fairy godmother, ha, 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 that's funny, let's go see it. That worked great in the 80s. I don't know how well that's going to go over now.
Oh,
Okay.
good point. It could backfire on them in the other way. I didn't think about that.
Exactly right. But not only that, I'm wondering how many parents are going to be another version of Cinderella. Now they're squeezing in a fairy godmother.
Yeah, Disney. We just had a Cinderella back in 2015. Do you remember? The Disney released one before Disney went nuts. It was actually pretty good. It was
excellent.
Yeah,
it was,
yeah.
In my opinion, it was one of the best Disney live actions.
Do you know why? Because they didn't simply just make a live action version. The animated movie, it's its own thing.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just another retelling of the same story, and it has some elements from the animated movie, but it was really just trying to be its own thing. It wasn't trying to be this direct adaptation that they do now, like with Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and all this other stuff. Okay.
Right. Yeah. They actually went at it with what I was calling Donner's verisimilitude. You know, they didn't get stupid with it, but here we go all over again. But you know what? Maybe the fact that it's Sony and not Disney proper. But like I was saying, the rumors are going around about Disney starting to sniff around about acquiring.
How can they buy these things?
I don't know. I'm just
Didn't
telling
they
you.
That 20. I mean, your guest the other night was saying they were having trouble because of the.
Yeah, I agree with her too. I don't think that Disney has the capital. I don't think it's realistic. And even if they did, I don't see the FCC saying, yeah, that's okay. You're not a big enough trust that we're going to antitrust you. I think they're at their limit as far as the number of acquisitions they're allowed. You got Marvel, you got 20th Century Fox, you got Lucasfilm. You're not getting Sony too. You know?
Yes.
But I don't know. I mean, nowadays, these politicians are in bed with these Hollywood F-ups, so who knows what they'll allow.
I don't know. Nobody was protecting 20th Century Fox from the Disney buyout, though.
Yeah, you're right.
Out of all the things Disney's done, that was the one that bothered me the most, because I like 20th Century Fox, and yes, not every movie they put out was great, but they were a good studio. A lot of projects are now canned that we'll never see. We were supposed to get Redwall movies. Those aren't happening now, okay, because of the Disney. Redwall, I think it's that, is it like that fantasy series with the mice? Have you seen covers of it in stores? You know what I'm talking about?
No
I never read them, okay, but apparently they're popular, okay. But going back to Disney, though, Lucasfilm, I don't know how much we'll touch on this, because you had a great stream the other night.
I did a lot of talking about this last
promote your
Friday.
Stream. It was a great stream. I did listen to it finally.
And this is a great opportunity. If you haven't checked it out, let me drop the link. Who
did you have on as your guest?
I had Stephanie Janicek of Stephanie Janicek's Smuggler's Cantina. She and I talked a little bit about the Dave Filoni news and the whole what's going on behind the scenes there. And
you were crediting her as the one
she was the
broke
first
the story
person,
to Midnight's Edge, right?
She was the person that reached out to Midnight's Edge and said, hey, check out this. And basically she's the one that pointed out that they'd updated their web page that was talking about Dave Filoni having gotten a promotion.
They tried to sneak it by us. I think that's what they were trying to do.
And everybody has been saying, well, he's had this, it's actually been in place for over a year. And if you've been paying attention to the credits of this, that, and the other, Filoni's had that title all this time. Okay, that's fine. But these things, again, do not happen in a vacuum. Okay, you have to look at them from the point of view of Disney. And you don't say, oh, they just updated their website. I mean, that's like the boomer argument. Oh, I meant to send you this direct message and I forgot to hit send. Okay, no, Disney doesn't do that. Okay, they purposely did this very low key without letting anyone know about it. I mean, they let people know about it, but there was no announcement. Just like the announcement about Kennedy getting her contract renewed last year, or was it the year before? And they made no official announcement about it because they knew people would be pissed. Okay, same thing. There are things going on behind the scenes that are directly being talked about by Variety, not Doomcock, not any rumors. This is stuff we know is happening because the trades are talking about it. And so now we are starting to see the background of it, right?
Yeah. Well, he's definitely getting more authority over there. That's for sure. Okay.
And they're also pointing out, well, this other person also has the same title, and this other person and this other person. Yes, they do. But Dave Filoni is the Star Wars guy there. And those other people, what are they working on? What are they actually working on? Okay. These things matter. Okay. Just keep it. You gotta kind of look beyond the obvious, pull back and look at the big picture, people, and engage the brain cells a little bit.
Yeah, Filoni was often thought to be the frontrunner of a new head of Lucasfilm by Star Wars fandom, as most of his projects have been very well received for the most part. However, it does seem that he's more focused on the creative side of the industry rather than the business side of it. It's worth watching the movement over at Lucasfilm. Clearly something is up and changes might be afoot. Yeah, we're going to keep an eye on it.
There we go. And again, I'm going to say, check out Friday's video, because not only did I have Stephanie Janicek on, who she actually communicates directly with Kamran Pasha, just like the guys at Midnight's Edge do. She's got some sources over at Lucasfilm herself. And during my stream, I was blown away while we're talking about these things. Who comes into the stream to say hi?
Yep.
But Jay, Drunk 3PO. And I'm like, oh, for crying out loud, man, this is just awesome,
Did he subscribe to your channel? You can put a.
I actually don't know if he did or not, but his next live stream, I said hi to him, and I just said, I can't tell you what it meant. You made my week coming into my stream to say hi. And he was very encouraging. He's like, Troy, he says, we all started out small, just keep up what you're doing and having fun. And, you're doing great. I'm like, man, that was awesome. And I got 10 more subscriptions just from people in his stream alone.
Excellent.
But the thing that I wanted to share big time is that I announced during my last stream with Stephanie, I have a copy of the EU book, Heart of the Jedi, that I am going to give away to somebody who comments on the video and says they're interested. I'm going to do a drawing in my next live stream. So if you are interested, go over to that video. I dropped the link. Just scroll up a little bit and go leave a comment and say, yeah, I'm interested in the book. The book starts, the bidding starts for this book on eBay at $100. The buy it nows are all in the $500-$600 range. And I'm just giving one away to somebody.
And it's supposed to be a really good book too.
It could be you, or it could be Paulie, the Mexican slant or the Latin slant from Midnight's Edge, who did come over and comment on my video and said, I'm interested. I'm like, well, I'd love to just give it to you, man, but I'm going to be honest, and Klingon honor and all that kind of stuff. He goes, the honor system's good, man. That's fine.
Second place drawing will be for the Billy Idol ringtone.
You got to explain that, because that's something you told me about in the green room. They don't know about.
Oh, that. I did. No, the Billy Idol. I was going through my CDs and transferring them to my iTunes, what they call iMusic now, and I forgot that inside my Billy Idol, from my Billy Idol CD, I bought a Billy Idol CD, Devil's Playground, back in my rebellious phase in the early 2000s from Best Buy, and apparently there was a little card in here to get a free Billy Idol ringtone. I'm sure it's still good. Okay.
Yeah.
15, 16 years old, maybe. Okay.
I have heard some interesting stories about, people buying things that are really, really old and trying to follow up on them, and the company gets them, and it's so far past, but they're like, oh, this is pretty cool. What can we do for them? And they send them something with a note. Sorry, this expired, 15 years ago, but
it was funny. I read a comment on a video once about the when you got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 for the Nintendo Entertainment System, there was a coupon in the manual for a free personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut, and the guy said he cut the coupon out like 20 years later, brought it in, they still honored it, and they gave him the free pizza.
That's pretty awesome. Well, that's because it's the kind of thing that they can do, right?
Yeah.
The Pizza Hut still exists. Pizza Hut still has personal pan pizzas.
So you can just give them a personal pan pizza.
And so they look and they go, because I mean, anybody who's I would guess that 90% of the people here in the stream have worked in some sort of fast food, and you get a coupon that's expired, you say to the manager, hey, and the manager will go, yeah, give it to them. They're not losing anything, they're gaining in
but I'm expecting the crusty bean kind of this coupon expired back in 1991.
But marketing will always come back and say you gain more.
Well, there you go. He mentions it on the video and okay, pizza, that's cool. Maybe I feel like eating a pan pizza
because but a manager has a certain amount of latitude. If there's a problem, they can give away a free meal, or they can do what they want that they feel is appropriate to I guess you'd call it appeasing the customer. Well, this wasn't a problem. This was just, I'll do something nice with my discretionary ability as the manager.
There you go.
This pizza place,
Okay, so another story: Star Wars: Rangers of the New Republic is no longer in active development.
Yeah. So a lot of people are making a lot of hay about this, and I do talk about this a little bit in my Friday stream too. A lot of people making a lot of hay out of this, saying, "Well, of course, because this was meant to be a Gina Carano vehicle, and Gina's out now, so this isn't going to happen." And then even Jay, who actually most people assume has the inside scoop on Gina Carano, because he's actually gone out to dinner with Gina Carano.
I know, and you were saying like when he was going to dinner, it's like she was going out to dinner with all the fans.
And I even said that to him. I had my opportunity on my stream to say it to him. I'm like, dude, when you went out to dinner with Gina Carano, it's like all of fandom getting to have dinner with Gina Carano. That is just awesome. That's why we're all shipping you, But I'll tell you, of course, the New Republic has been shelved. Honestly, I think just about everything that isn't in active production is currently being shelved because there is a bunch of things happening behind the scenes. There's a lot of shakeup going on, and what moves forward and what doesn't is going to depend on who's going out the door this year and who's going to be staying and moving up. Filoni got a promotion. It's looking more and more like Kennedy is going to be leaving. Who's going to be taking over? These people are the ones that are going to make those calls. Rumors about whether or not Gina's coming back. Look, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows if it's a possibility. Nobody knows if she's actually been asked. There's a rumor that she's been seen on the set. That doesn't mean anything. She's still got friends that work there. You can go visit your friends at work. It happens. Doesn't mean you're actually working there.
True.
But there's also people saying, for all that she said, if Favreau wanted her back, she'd go back for Favreau. And I don't know. I mean, if they offered her the right offer, she could say, yeah, okay, I'll do it under these conditions. This, and this. And if you start this shit, I'm out of here.
Boom. We'll see what happens. I hope that's true. Interesting things are happening though over there.
It absolutely is. So don't put too much stake in anybody saying either Gina's coming back or Gina will never come back. Okay. Leave a pin in that one. And don't take this thing about Rangers not being in active development. That's just industry speak. They're trying to make it sound like it's definitely not happening. Who the hell knows? Because it
could just be delayed. Okay.
People working at Lucasfilm can't tell you for sure what's going to happen. Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool.
But we did have some news that didn't make it into our notes on the Star Wars front that I didn't get a chance to talk about on Friday because it happened so late.
Yeah.
What? So did you hear about this? About the Mandalorian
Pascal
himself?
Yeah, the Pedro Pascal. This was going back
He's
to
the gift that keeps on giving.
Giving back to Gal Gadot. Okay. Yeah, this was let me see. Mandalorian Pedro Pascal draws flack for supporting Gal Gadot's following controversial post.
Yeah.
I meant to look up how to pronounce her name. I've heard people say
she pronounces the T. Yeah.
Okay, Gadot. Okay. I've heard Gadot. I've heard all sorts of things. Okay. All right.
Well, Gal Gadot is, of course, the Boston, American accent, right?
Gotcha.
Gadot would be a French accent, but she's Israeli, and so I have no idea how
I'll pronounce it how she says it.
Exactly.
Just like I'll say Tolkien is Tolkien now because he corrected me in that movie. Anyway, okay. Wonder Woman actress Gal Gadot made headlines this week after generating major heat from last week for airing her sentiments amid the growing tensions in Israel and Gaza. The Israeli star was quote-unquote canceled by fans over social media over her controversial comments in relation to the Israeli and Palestinian violence that has left the entire world in shock and utter disbelief. That said statement posted on Gadot's social media platforms received massive backlash from a lot of people who pointed Gadot's history of serving in Israeli Defense Forces. We talked about this last week.
Yep.
Okay, this is not a controversial comment. She's asking for peace for both countries, both sides.
Yep.
That's not controversial. That's just you wanting peace. That's something Wonder Woman would say. Okay.
But now just because of let's just say it the way it is. The rise in anti-Semitism right now is ridiculous. The effing ists out there are all coming out of the woodwork. If you stand with Israel, if you care about someone who's Jewish, okay, you're a horrible, terrible person. And these are the same people that are bitching about people being Yahtzees.
They're attacking people in the Diamond District.
Are being Yahtzees.
They're attacking Jewish people in the Diamond
District. They're
literally
attacking Jewish people in the streets.
Yes, in this country, not even just overseas.
Yep.
And in the Diamond.
So now they're trying to cancel Gal Gadot because she was and people say it's hypocritical that she wants peace, but she served in the Israeli military. Every single adult in Israel serves in the military. It doesn't work the same way as it does here, where you only go into the military if you choose to, and there isn't even a draft. 100% of adults in Israel serve in the military.
Don't soldiers want peace as well, though?
Yes.
I mean, that's someone who doesn't have an understanding of. Never mind. Okay.
That's like saying a cop saying, I wish there wasn't so much crime in the world. I wish there was no crime. Yeah, well, that's hypocritical. You're a cop. You make all your business off of crime. No, that's a business that I would be very, very happy to go out of as a cop. I'm not a cop. I'm just saying this is what cops say.
No, I understand. Yeah.
And let's face it, cops have other duties besides stopping bad guys.
Yes.
They're still going to be out there writing tickets. They're still going to be out there, pointing the finger at you.
I was stranded on a highway and a cop jump started my car for me. Okay. Yeah. They're not always out to do, give you a ticket or something. Sometimes they actually are out there to help.
Yeah, when they say serve and protect, they really do mean that.
Yes,
I realize that there's a bunch of cultural vandals out there that think that's anathema, but it's still true, whether you choose to believe it or not.
But now this goes on to Pedro Pascal. Now, a few days following the controversy, Gal's Wonder Woman 1984 co-star. Yeah, we forget he was the villain in the Wonder Woman 84 movie.
Yep.
Good friend Pedro Pascal is also drawing flack for expressing his support for the actress following her decisive statement. Yeah, I think he liked it, and how dare he want peace in our time? Okay, I don't understand this. Apparently, the Mandalorian actor liked Gal's post on Instagram, and it didn't exactly sit well with fans who have seemingly made it their mission to rain on the DC Stars parade. When Pascal promoted the HBO return of Wonder Woman 1984, because I guess it's coming back to HBO Max, fans stormed the Chilean Star's Twitter post and bombarded it with negative comments expressing their disappointment with the Star Wars actor. Things have obviously gotten out of hand, and once again, it proves that cancel culture is such a disease that we need to get rid of it. I mean, so what if Pedro Pascal likes Gal's post? If anything, she was only trying to unite people, and her statement was taken completely out of context. Yep. The entire situation of Israel and Gaza is already absolutely horrifying. We don't need to deal with unnecessary hate, especially during a time like this.
I'm telling you, if these celebrities don't start coming out and first stop apologizing. Stop apologizing, because all that does is it chums the water for these assholes.
Yes.
Secondly, you got to start fighting back. You know, I mean, you know who handled this? Well, the person who handled it best was Gina. She has set the example. But the other one is Jordan Peterson. This whole thing where he becomes a Red Skull meme. I mean, the memes have been brilliant. You know, oh, he's such a horrible guy. He tells people to go out and pet a kitten and clean your room and be nice to one another. That horrible fascist, you know? And now they're basically doing the same thing with Gal Gadot, right? Oh my gosh, she wants Middle Eastern peace. What's wrong with that woman?
It's,
you know,
it's ridiculous that this is happening now. Never forget, because it's going to happen again. And I kept wondering who's next on the totem pole, and I think now we know. Okay,
people want to point out the Schadenfreude because of the Yahtzee meme that he shared in regards to the Trump administration, but people forget he put that out there, and as soon as he started getting flack about it, he took it down right away. So he knows he screwed up, okay? And he hasn't really done a whole lot since then. He's kept the politics and stuff kind of quiet since then.
Right.
And he didn't come out to support Gina, which a lot of people are kind of pissed about, but okay, fine. Now he tries to support Gal, and he's getting beat up. I think he's learned some very, very valuable social justice social media.
To be fair, though, he didn't condemn her either. I think it would have been good if he had come out and said some more support. But according to Gina, she had nothing but good things to say about
yeah,
him,
no,
right?
he
so,
did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he kept quiet. That's the most you can say. He didn't come out and defend her. He comes out to defend Gal, but he didn't defend Gina. But whatever. Maybe we're seeing some growth. We go from taking down a bad post to not saying anything in support of Gina to actually supporting Gal. Maybe this is some character development on his part.
People can get better.
Right.
Okay. And that's all we ask. You know, I want people to get back to normal. I think Wolfton got very angry about this whole thing. He says, I get offended when someone snoots on former military. I don't care what country. Soldiers are more human than any of these keyboard stubs. Yeah.
I do want to point out the Wolfie's comment to me. He says, what's wrong with Wolf 10 for supporting the police? People call me an Uncle Tom. Now, I know why he says that. He uses the term as it's intended by the people saying it. But as I point out to him, and he knows this, and I'm going to point it out to educate our stream as well. When someone is called an Uncle Tom, it's a term that's being used by a bunch of people who've never actually read Uncle Tom's Cabin. Because if they did, they would know they don't actually mean Uncle Tom. They actually mean Sambo. Read the book, learn the difference.
Do you know Uncle Tom's Cabin, I believe, is the best-selling book of all time? Fiction book?
Best-selling and most read are not the same thing. Just going to point that out to you. You could have it sitting on your shelf. That doesn't mean you've actually read it.
No, I know that, but I think I think I read that somewhere. And it was that I thought that was interesting because
and Wolfie goes on to say
it's one of the Harry Potter books or something.
He means race hustler. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Right.
This throwing out. Wait, look, it's true. I don't care what color you are. When you throw out, you know, good reason and logic and principle to back a skin color, you're racist. That's all there is to it. And I don't care if you're a white person pandering to the black community, or you're a black person that hates white people. Racism is racism. I don't care what your color is, right?
Yeah.
I happen to be very much of the whole Martin Luther King Jr. Take on what racism is and what the dream is for the future.
Yeah.
You know, but
we
were almost there. We were almost there, but we allowed the true racists to set us back generations.
Yeah, but Wolf 10, but I think that, you know, we will. I don't think they're going to win. Okay, in the long run. Okay,
I sure hope not. But you know, okay. I think you're right, and I think that whenever you see someone like Pedro, I think Pedro's starting to realize what's going on, and a lot of people in Hollywood are starting to go, yeah, this cannot continue to stand like this.
Oh, my mistake. Best-selling book of the 19th century. Okay.
Yeah.
Uncle Tom's Cabin. Okay, but Ben-Hur. Oh, and you know what? Ben-Hur was also pretty big in the 19th century. That was another big seller.
I mean, Birth of a Nation was a good seller too. That's not necessarily a good sign.
Well, no, but I like Ben-Hur. You know, Ben-Hur was written by a Union general, military guy, wrote a book, and he started out as like he was kind of agnostic. By the time he was done with the book, he became a believer. Isn't that interesting? He converted by writing about it. It was interesting. Care Bears, though, and it's funny. I'm sorry, I'm going into that. I'm going from Ben-Hur to the Care Bears thing.
Well, I also liked, was it Samuel Proctor or somebody early in the stream saw the thumbnail and said, Care Bears? You're going to be talking about Care Bears?
Yeah, Care Bears celebrates acceptance with togetherness, Bear. I will not stand for this. I don't accept this bear in my collection. Okay.
Yeah,
Troy, what's your favorite Care Bear in your collection? I'm kidding, of course. Okay, or maybe I'm not. I probably said that with too much conviction. Let me read the article. Okay, I'm going to get.
Wasn't there one that had like a rain cloud on his chest?
I don't know. Care Bears was something we talked about the good old days in the beginning of the stream. Care Bears, in my opinion, is not the good old days. Maybe for other segments of the 1980s child. Okay.
Yeah.
Children. I was not a fan. I did not like that getting pushed on me. I don't like Care Bears. I don't like Rainbow Bright. I don't like, okay, you know what? Let's talk about the things we love and not about the things we hate. And let's talk about togetherness, Bear, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe this will change my mind on Care Bears. There's a brand new Care Bear in Care-a-Lot, and she's the most colorful Care Bear yet. Togetherness Bear, a vibrant rainbow-furred bear with a special heart sign, is the first new Care Bear to make an appearance in the Care Bears animated series in the last 10 years. She's also the first new character to be introduced with the Bears' new book, which is based on the animation style of the franchise's latest series, Care Bears Unlock the Magic. I wasn't aware there was a new Care Bears series. While there's no confirmation that Togetherness Bear release is related to June's Pride Month, a Care Bears representative did say the brand designed Togetherness Bear to personify togetherness, acceptance, inclusivity, and loving what's unique about yourself. The Bear's motto, love all, furthers her passion for accepting everyone exactly the way they are. Except for Gina Carano. I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've got an excellent point there. Let's make sure that everybody is represented and loved together, except for certain people that, you know, we don't like apparently these days. Look, nobody is buying that this is anything but gay Care Bear. That's what this is. There's no doubt about it. And again, this is not something that belongs in a children's product. This falls under the transgendered story time for kids and the cuties thing on Netflix. And I mean, there are some sick people trying to, and let's make sure that children that think that, you know, have any question about their gender have the right to puberty blockers. without talking to their parents about it. I mean, this is a crazy, sick world of sexualizing children, and saying this is progressive. I'm sorry, but people need to leave this kind of stuff alone. This is not, yes, it absolutely is true. We want our children to be accepting of everybody, but we don't need to talk about sex with kids. We don't need to talk about gender issues with kids. Leave it the hell alone.
Yes. Just
okay. Protect the children. Don't corrupt the children.
Have them learn the ABCs.
Oh gosh. You know.
Horizon Talker says, let's talk about let's talk about things we love, the things we love, things live. Let's talk about Togetherness Bear by Transitive Property. Aged Boomer loves Togetherness Bear. I was watching Time Boy the other day. I'm going to imitate him. You love Togetherness Bear.
Yeah.
When he tried doing the retorts and he kept failing against David Spade. Yeah. You know what? Well, we'll see how Togetherness Bear works out. I'm gonna have to maybe check out this new animated series and maybe I'll have my mind change. I'm kidding. I'm just saying, okay, I love Melissa Harris's comment, but I can't post it. Or maybe I could, I guess. I don't know. Never mind. I don't give a
well, you don't have to read it out. I mean, you know.
Okay. Are we done for the night? Because I think I'm losing my voice here, and it's like I don't want to talk about that. Wait a minute, hold on. And to further celebrate the newest Care Bear edition, the brand is kicking off its Togetherness Challenge June 8th, which asks fans to share social media posts about what togetherness means to them. Well, maybe you can share a post about that, huh? Okay. All right, never mind. What's going on this week? Let's move. I'm tired. We're already past 11:30. I got stuff to do.
Yeah,
and my throat's starting to lose. I believe there is a
Wolf 10 Rambles on Tuesday and Thursday, and he's got a couple of really good looking topics. He's already got them posted.
Wolf Commander Rambles.
What did I say?
Wolf 10 Rambles.
Okay, yeah. Well, Wolf 10 Media is the channel. Go over there, subscribe, because he's already got his 2 videos for the week posted up. Go check it out.
They're good listen.
Yep. I'm assuming there's a Birdman on Wednesday.
There's a Birdman on Wednesday. We will be doing Black Hawk Down. I don't know if we're going to be having any other guests on or not. But that's a good one. And I think we're having a Culture Fortress on Tuesday. I haven't heard anything from but I think we're having one. So I was supposed to do The Sopranos this week, but on Match 6 channel. But yeah, and I'm trying to think. What are you doing Friday? You doing a thing on Friday?
I am doing, well, if nothing else, I'll be doing the drawing for the giveaway of Heart of the Jedi. And you know what? Let me just go ahead and post last week's real quick. Again, if you're interested in Heart of the Jedi and want to be included in the drawing, go ahead to that video and leave a comment and tell me that so that I know to add you. I should say so that Nanette knows to add you, because she's gonna do that.
She's gonna be the one picking out the winner.
Absolutely. And I am not sure what my topic's going to be. I don't think I want to do Star Wars again, but I am considering either going back to fixing the DC. Actually, fixing the DC universe might be the one to do after all the news that we just did this
week. I think so.
So it may be a Smallville rewatch again, or we'll talk about something related to fixing Star Wars. Fixing Star Wars. Everything needs fixing, right? Fixing the DC universe. So that's probably what we'll be doing, but I will be doing my drawing for that on Friday.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right. Sam Proctor's excited about the draw. Well, I wish everyone the best.
I know he was actually the first one to comment. I'm going to do this fairly, but part of me really hopes he does win it, you know?
It will be a fair draw. What was I going to say though? And I figure you have a Saturday night rewatch next week as well.
Oh yeah, the Saturday night rewatch is on Netter's Network. It is the second Alien film, Aliens. That was when they didn't want to just call it Alien 2.
Really? Aliens, huh?
Yep. Game over, man. Game over.
That's a good one.
It just, again, she's going through our video library in alphabetical order. And it just so happened that she had Alien Nation and Aliens falling right in the month that Al wanted to do Martian May, where he did Mars Attacks and War of the Worlds.
Cool.
So it's like just this Alien May, you know, just
But
works
you
out
didn't
perfect.
do The Martian with Matt Damon.
You know, I haven't even seen that movie.
Okay, well, on that note,
I've heard it was really good. But
it's not
I'd
bad.
like
It's
to.
not bad. It was decent to watch. But okay. Well, I had a good night, and y'all have a good night, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.
Good night.